Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, and the Game Nashville app. But of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook, and we are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Game Studios. D-Mase, how we doing on this snowy day?
Hey, we're doing wonderful, other than my shoulder is killing me. Gosh, these old football injuries find a way to show up on the worst days. It's snowing, you know. Which
D-Mase
isn't
is on
bad.
IR.
Yeah, I'm on IR, my shoulder.
No.
I'm trying to run, and well, I guess I did, because I've dealt with a shoulder injury before and try to run in the game. It's not impossible, but it's hard. I'm trying to run on a treadmill. My shoulder's hurt. I know the people on the left or the right of me, they were looking like, what is wrong with this guy? like, why is he making those faces?
Not that serious.
Exactly. I was like, man, we're not running that fast right now. What is wrong with this guy?
No Willy Donning today. As D-Mase promised, Preds don't go 5-0 on the road trip, so he's held up at the border. D-Mase said that he was not welcome back. Preds fall 4-3 to the Montreal Canadiens last night. Askarov in net, and we'll get into all the Predator stuff. Nick Keyser here as well. Nick, how we doing?
doing great. Derek, I think the reason you're having your shoulder problem is because you talked so much about injuries yesterday.
Yeah, you're probably right. It's
Karma,
probably
man.
Yeah,
back
someone
on
heard.
me.
But this is where I want to start, because the Titans started conducting their NFL GM interviews. Now, they interviewed their in-house candidates yesterday, and throughout the weekend, they will begin interviews for out-of-house candidates. So what do we know and what do we not know about the Titans GM search? We'll start with what we do know, and I'll go back to the decision that Amy Adams-Strunk made to fire John Robinson and everything that we have heard from both her and Mike Vrabel, and what they intend for the GM search to be, for the relationships with the GM. First and foremost, Amy Adams-Strunk wants it to be a collaboration. That's a word that her and Mike Vrabel and a lot of members within the Titans organization have used, that word of a collaboration. So what exactly does that mean? Well, we do know that Mike Vrabel and the new GM will both report to Amy Adams-Strunk. So that's my interpretation of what this new relationship will be, is that Mike Vrabel plays a bit of a larger role because, as one, it's a collaboration. The relationship between John Robinson and Mike Vrabel wasn't as much collaborative as it was Mike Vrabel reports to the GM, who reports to Amy Adams-Strunk. Now, both Mike Vrabel and the GM will report to Amy Adams-Strunk. So that is what we do know about what the new GM will be stepping into, at least the power structure of what the new GM will be stepping into. We know, like I mentioned, that the in-house candidates were interviewed yesterday on Thursday afternoon. Both Ryan Cowden and Monty Ossenfort, two members within the Titans organization, have been interviewed. Now, another thing that we know, and that's kind of new news coming down the pipe, is that Monty Ossenfort is interviewing for the Arizona Cardinals GM position. Of course, Arizona Cardinals GM Steve Keim is taking a step back. The Arizona Cardinals are finding the GM of the future. So what that means to me is, since Monty Ossenfort has interviewed with the Titans, and the Titans granted him permission to interview with the Arizona Cardinals, that means to me Monty Ossenfort likely is not their guy if they're allowing him to interview elsewhere in the NFL. That's just my interpretation of it. I don't have any fact about that. I don't have any, legitimate, inside sources. That's just my interpretation. Monty Ossenfort and Ryan Cowden both interviewed yesterday for the Titans GM position. They're interviewing out-of-house candidates today. One of those is Bears assistant GM Ian Cunningham. He's been in Chicago for about a year. He was the director of player personnel in Philadelphia for a few years with the Ravens before that. They're also interviewing 49ers director of player personnel Ryan Carthen. We know that Adam Peters, who's within the 49ers organization, has denied a request to interview with the Titans. He said he wants to focus on the 49ers playoff push, which also my interpretation of that is, no thanks, I'm not interested. It's just a nice way of saying it. So that's all we do know. We don't have in-depth information about what's going on in those interviews, or a GM that might be in the lead for the candidacy. We don't know any of that. So there's a lot that we don't know. we don't know, and I think that this is the biggest thing, we don't know what the Titans' plan is for the future. It'd be easy to say if we knew for certain that the Titans wanted to either move forward with a different quarterback, change up the offensive system, if we knew what that offensive system was, if they want to find a new quarterback in the draft, and they could probably fine-tune their search from there. Look for a GM with a good history of drafting, evaluating, scouting quarterbacks. But we don't know the direction that this organization wants to go in. We don't know if it's a rebuild in the future. We don't know if it's a run it back with Tannehill and Henry or one of the two and then try and build upon that. And I think that's where we need to go next before we can have an in-depth conversation about which candidates would be best for this position. And I can't answer that question because I don't think we really know exactly what these candidates do. You know, a director of player personnel in Philadelphia, that's what Ian Cunningham, actually a GM candidate that TD said earlier this morning that would be his guy, his pick. But, you know, director of player personnel in Philadelphia might be different than what it is with San Francisco. What roles did he play? When he was in Philadelphia, did he play an integral role in scouting and scouting Jalen Hurts? You know, we don't know. We don't know exactly what they did in the roles that they played. So that's another thing that we don't know. But the biggest thing that we don't know is what are the Titans' priorities and what are the Titans' plans for the future? And we have to answer those questions, or they have to answer those questions before they move forward with the future general manager.
Yeah, they're going to have to. You know, they got to figure out if, you know, they want to keep things status quo, meaning the roster, the direction that they're headed with this roster, the philosophy with this roster, and we all know what that is and what that has been. But you just don't know if the new GM, you know, especially, you know, if you're bringing, you know, a GM that's been a part of organizations where, you know, they've either been more balanced or they've been more pass heavy, in a sense. So they were trying to get, you know, their offensive guys, and they were scouting real hard for their offensive guys, whether it be through free agency or the draft. So I think that's one thing they have to do very quickly, and I expect it to be a quick process. That's why, you know, if you look back at when she decided to fire John, it sort of makes sense now, because even though we felt it was wrong timing because they had 7 games left, but it gave her a jump start to whereas had she fired him, say, you know, at the end of the season, now that would have pushed them back possibly a month in trying to find their GM. But since they did it, you know, almost a month ago, now they are ahead of the game. And I expect them. I think so. I expect them. I wouldn't be surprised if after this weekend that they have in their mind who they want as GM and then try to work out a deal. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is done before the end of next week, going into end of this upcoming week, going into the next following week. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not done then.
I think it's going to have to be because you know, the Senior Bowl is late January, and you're going to have to start doing your evaluating and your planning in terms of, you know, the draft and East-West Shrine, Senior Bowl. So you're going to have to get the guy in place. But I think about it like if the Titans would have fired John Robinson after Week 18, they'd probably be conducting GM interviews this week anyway. And maybe, to your point, maybe they got a head start on thinking about who the next general manager will be. But cutting ties with John Robinson in early December in the middle of the season, at least from the outside looking in, I don't feel like they are, or it doesn't seem like they are any more ahead of the curve than they would have been if they just would have waited until the end of the season. Yeah,
and that's something that, you know, we will never know because we figure if they had done it, you know, Monday when the coaches were fired, then this week would have been, honestly, it would have been us talking about the firing of John Robinson, and that's it. We wouldn't have been talking about, well, who is this potential successor? Now we have a group of guys that we believe are in the running to be his successor, and she's interviewing them starting yesterday into this weekend, and then possibly next week. So that, to me, that gives her that at least gives her an opportunity to be ahead of some of the teams that are just now ending their season, that have just now fired their GM, and now they are trying to put their ducks in a row to who they want to hire. Well, she already has a list, and now she's conducting interviews with that list that she has. It may not be a long list. It may be a list of just 5 or 6 people.
She may already know.
Exactly. She may already know, but by her doing it, even though I don't agree with it, and a lot of people, you don't agree with it, but I think in her mind, let's do it now, and then right after we do it, let's make a list of guys or girls that we feel that would be good for this GM job.
And I still think, I'm still of the belief that Amy Adams Strunk has known who she wants, and she's going to go through the necessary processes as you have to. But I still view it as, after this past month or so of trying to rationalize exactly why Amy Adams Strunk made that decision. Mm-hmm. Why do it now? If the Titans would have gone on a 7-game losing streak and John Robinson hadn't been fired, then I could see, okay, you can justify that. 7-game losing streak, you lose the division, you miss the playoffs, then I could justify firing the general manager after that. But firing him in the middle of the season, we've all been trying to justify why that move was made. Mm-hmm. And I go back to, I think that Amy Adams Strunk knew the day that she fired John Robinson who she wanted to be his successor. Because why make that decision then if you don't know who is next in line, or if you don't know if there's something better out there?
So do you think it's in-house?
Well, if she knew who she wanted it to be, I would think that it probably is in-house. Okay. If she knows who it is, if she feels confident that for the next for John Robinson's successor, it would mean that she felt so confident in this person's ability to fill this job and to fill this role better than John Robinson that she was willing to make that move when she did it. If she didn't know, or if she wasn't certain or 100% confident that whoever she had in mind or whoever else was out there was better than John Robinson, then why make that move then? Why not give yourself the time to evaluate? So I do think it probably is in-house, and you look at the 2 in-house interviewees, Ryan Cowden and Monty Austinfort. Monty Austinfort has been granted permission to interview with the Arizona Cardinals, so likely isn't Monty Austinfort. So if you're going to use, the process of elimination, then maybe it is Ryan Cowden. And I think that a lot of Titans fans have thought that it's been Ryan Cowden.
Ryan
It's
Cowden
obvious.
He's a New England guy, right?
He's a Patriots guy. He came with John Robinson.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, you could be absolutely right.
But maybe it's something completely different, that it really is what Amy Adams Strunk said. That she said, I knew that I wanted to cut ties with John Robinson. My mind was made up, so why wait? Maybe that is the truth. But I can't imagine that you run a business in a way that you make a really rash decision at kind of an inopportune time and you don't have a plan for the future.
Well, yeah, and that makes me think that either it's one or two things. Either she just got tired and fed up, like she said, and said, hey, listen, I need to part ways with
maybe that's true.
With John. I thank him for doing a really good job, but I think moving forward in the future, we need someone else to sit in that seat. And maybe in saying that, she was thinking also, well, you know what? I think I know who the guy is that I want. Let's put him in the interim role right now, and kind of give him a head start on the game, and then go through the interviews like I'm supposed to, and then ultimately hire the guy that became the interim for John Robinson. So it could be a guy sitting there, whether it's Cowden or Ossenfort, one of the two guys, but it seems like it's more so Cowden than Ossenfort.
So we do know that the Titans are conducting GM interviews this weekend, but do they have to make up their mind about general manager before they make the rest of the big decisions as far as this team is concerned? Or can they happen at the same time? We'll get into that coming up next. Plus, of course, your thoughts, your calls, your texts, 615-737-1025. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
The college football season never stops. ESPN college football analyst Trevor Manich joins Stillman and Company every Tuesday at 4:30.
They've got to do what Nick Saban in Alabama has done so successfully over the last 10 years.
Presented by Houston Clinic Orthopedics on Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and NFL Wildcard Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you have to do is sign up with promo code ROB. FanDuel has all your favorite bets, from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. I like the Bengals, Joe Burrow and company, to take down the Ravens on Wildcard Weekend, but you can take it any way you want to take it, all on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ROB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets that expire in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Coration CBD products. Coration began as our family's mission to provide the Nashville community with locally and organically sourced CBD products. We are passionate about providing high-quality CBD products for everyday use. Tinctures, topicals, and pet products too. We are a Pick 10 company. Our hemp is organically grown and produced in Nashville, Tennessee from sustainably sourced non-GMO genetics. All of our products are lab tested. Find all of our products at CorationCompany.com.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game and the Game Nashville app. So we know the Titans have interviewed in-house candidates Ryan Cowden and Monty Ossenfort yesterday for the potential opening of the Titans GM position. We know that they will be interviewing out-of-house candidates throughout the weekend. And one thing, D-Mase, that I've kind of believed or been under the impression of is, first and foremost, of all of the things on the Titans to-do list in this offseason, hiring a GM, hiring an offensive coordinator, building up the roster, making the decisions of who you want to be your quarterback of the future. Do you start to rebuild? Do you run it back and then start to retool? Before you can answer all of those questions and fill in all of those holes, both on the roster and the coaching staff, you're going to have to find the general manager. That's what I thought felt like a really easy, pecking order, is hire the general manager and then you go from there to make sure that it really is a true quote-unquote collaboration, as Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel have said it will be, a conversation between those three, a collaboration between those three. But can they also be looking for their offensive coordinator of the future without the GM's discretion? Bob Shoop was on Stillman & Company yesterday, and he gave his thoughts.
So do you think that Vrabel has to wait until they hire a general manager to go for his offensive coordinator, or do you think Vrabel is simultaneously going after the offensive coordinator while ownership is in the first round of interviewing GM candidates and then probably brings Vrabel in for the second round?
Simultaneously. I have no question. I mean, you know, when we read about this person or that person interviewing, you know, a lot of decisions have already been made. I'm sure those phone calls have been made. You know, there's so much that goes on. There's so much behind the scenes that goes on that we're unaware of. I mean, you know, there's the Rooney Rule applies not just to head coaches but to coordinators. So there's a certain amount of – it's not just, hey, I want my guy, this guy to come in and be the offensive coordinator. There is a process that's going to happen before the Titans are able to hire an offensive coordinator. And I know that process – I'm very, very certain that process has already begun.
There you go. Again, that was Bob Shupon on Stillman and Company yesterday. So I thought hire the GM first and then you go from there. Bob Shoop says you can find your offensive coordinator while you are conducting interviews for the general manager position. And I think that would be good because you would get your guys in place, your new GM, your new offensive coordinator, and then the offensive coordinator, Mike Vrabel, can find the new offensive line coach and fill in the rest of the coaching holes that currently exist. But I don't know if that's the best path to go down. And to Bob Shoop's point, the Titans may already have a lot of these questions already answered. They may already know exactly what they want to do, and they may already have a candidate in mind in terms of GM and offensive coordinator that they feel like is going to be their guy of the future. And, of course, they go through all the necessary steps that the NFL requires them to do. So it might make it a lot easier to say, okay, this is what we want to do offensively. This is our vision for the future, and we'll find the OC and the GM that also aligns with that way of thinking. But if they don't have those questions answered, and maybe they do, maybe Amy Adams Strunk knows exactly what she wants to do with this team moving forward, and she finds a GM that aligns with that. But I think that it would be really difficult to conduct those processes simultaneously if you don't know what the vision for your team is for the future.
Well, I mean, from a coaching standpoint, I don't think the GM has much decision making on, you know, because my thing is, if this is a separation of power, like, okay, Vrabel, you have power and discretion over your coaching staff. Whoever the GM has power and discretion over the players that we go out and scout and potentially can bring in, and we will discuss it. But ultimately, you know, hopefully we can come together, you know, and put together the best roster. But the coaching staff is normally on the head coach. So Vrabel can go out and look for his offensive coordinator, his offensive line coach, his DB coach. He can do all of that while still looking for the GM, because he's not truly, well, at least we believe he's not a part of the GM search. Will they ask his input? Absolutely. He's already said it, that he's been kept in a loop. But other people are doing the job of finding the GM. And like Coach said, a lot of times they know who exactly they want to hire, but because of the Rooney Rule, they got to go through this whole process. You know, just think, if we didn't have the Rooney Rule, I think they would have hired their GM already.
Probably
the GM
so.
would have been in-house already, ready to go before anything else was said and done. But because of the Rooney Rule, they have to go through the interview process, which to me is a sham, because if you already know who you're going to hire, you just bring your people in just to satisfy a rule, which you never was going to hire that individual anyway. Now, it's good for the individual because he gets the interview and know what to expect if indeed they get that shot again with someone else. But I believe I'm more in the line of Coach Shoops. They probably more than likely know who they want as GM, but they got to go through the process. I think Vrabel knows, or he has an idea who he wants as an offensive coordinator. And I believe that offensive coordinator is in-house. I believe Tim Kelly was brought here last year, that if anything went wrong or sideways with Downing, that he could slide into that position and continue the job that Vrabel, or continue the vision that Vrabel wants for this team. I don't think they're truly looking outside for an offensive coordinator. I think they got him in-house. So you can go out and get your coaching staff all while looking for your GM. And if he comes to say, hey, listen, this is my guy, and this is my guy in regards to your coaching, that doesn't affect what you're going to do from a GM standpoint, because a GM he's not walking in, at least to my understanding, he's not walking in telling Vrabel, hey, I want this guy to be my quarterback's coach or offensive coordinator. I want that guy to be my offensive line coach. No, that is up to Vrabel. That is his job at putting together a good staff. So they may hire everybody before they even get a GM. I don't think that's not uncommon of an NFL team, because they do it all the time. Whether if you fire your GM or not, the head coach still has to go out. If he's fired an individual, he has to go out and name the head coach. They don't say, well, the head coach and GM are looking for a offensive coordinator. They say the head coach is looking for an offensive coordinator. So you can do both at the same time.
And you're 100% correct. That is totally up to Mike Vrabel's discretion of who he wants to be his offensive coordinator. But while I think that the Titans are in a unique position, is that offensively, they can go in several different directions next year. They could decide to completely blow things up and, cut Ryan Tannehill, trade Derrick Henry, and go in a completely different offensive direction. Change the system completely. I'm not saying they're going to do that or they should do that, but it's not on the table. So if they do decide to do that, then they will need to find an offensive coordinator that does fit this new system. They'll need to find a general manager that may have expertise or a successful background in scouting quarterbacks or, completely rehauling an offensive system. So that's the only reason why I think it could be a GM first and offensive coordinator second, is if the Titans do decide to shift things offensively, then they will need to have two new people that are aligned in terms of coaching style and the style that they execute and the history of a GM of recruiting and drafting and evaluating in those areas.
And that's why I believe, and you may believe the same thing, I think everybody is in-house. I think everybody they want is in-house.
And it might be.
Because everyone's aligned in what they're thinking and how they want to move this team forward. I think whether, it's the two candidates in-house for the GM job or it's Tim Kelly, the offensive coordinator, they've been together long enough that they all are like-minded in how they want to move forward with not necessarily the defense, because the defense is fine. You need to add some more people, but the philosophy of the defense is fine. It's the offense. And I think having those in-house candidates and potential, guys that will fill the job, they're all like-minded in what they want to do. Why? Because they've all been here together for at least the last 3 or 4 years.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. We'll continue to get you into your thoughts, calls, and text 615-737-1025. But coming up next, I mentioned, is it the GM first and offensive coordinator second? Is the Titans going to completely overhaul their offensive identity and completely do a 180? We'll get the expertise of a coach, what he thinks the Titans should do, and is he right? We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Matt Duchene, and this is Smashville.
Running down the left side with Duchene. Duchene scores! Matt Duchene with the overtime winner.
You're listening to the flagship of the Nashville Predators Radio Network, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Bar Lines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
Hey Nashville, it's Chef Phillip at Bar Lines at the Omni Hotel. Come try our new Nashville hot fish and chips. Beer battered black cod served over crispy fries or tots with Omni's own Nashville hot season blend. Served with chipotle slaw and malt vinegar tartar sauce.
Attending an event downtown? Dine at Barlines in the Omni Nashville Hotel.
It's a new year and a new game. Robbie and Rex Road from 6 to 9.
I don't know whether to be proud of you or to tell you to leave the room. Both would be appropriate.
Chase and Michelle from 9 to 11.
Did you look at what the other teams are doing?
That's a player I want to keep an eye on.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase from 11 to 2.
You're the best running back in the league.
That's one you really need to win.
This is the way we were built. And Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman from 2 to 6.
Really the greatest player in the history of the team.
It's your new weekday lineup now on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey Nashville, this is Gary Bettman. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
You win the division, and you have a home playoff game, and you lose to the Baltimore Ravens. That's the COVID year. You win the division, you're the number 1 seed, you lose a home playoff game to the Bengals, and then you don't make the playoffs. That's a trend. I mean, 1 year, okay, fluky. 2 years, but 3 years now without a playoff victory. That's where we are now as an organization. You know, the questions they're going to have to ask is Ryan Tannehill a winning playoff quarterback?
The answer to that is no.
Right. That is correct. And I think this is a quarterback-driven league, no matter how we want to look at it. And this team isn't structured that way right now either. I will say that. I mean, it's a flawed group on the offensive side of the ball, because if you're going to be Derrick Henry centric, you know, then to me it's – you better have a big-time offensive line, and right now we don't have that. You know, when I look at the teams that are winning in the NFL right now, the teams that are getting to the Final Four into the Super Bowl, it's speed on the perimeter and it's elite quarterback play. Speed on the perimeter, elite quarterback play. Two things that need to be improved in this organization.
There you go. That was Coach Bob Shoop on Stillman & Company yesterday. And he says, look, and he has a point. 2020, you win the division. You lose it in the playoffs to the Baltimore Ravens. 2021, you win the division. You're the top seed in the AFC. You lose in the divisional round of the playoffs to the Cincinnati Bengals. This year, you lose the division, don't even make the playoffs, and you go on a 7-game losing streak. It would look like things are on the decline for the Tennessee Titans. That what was working, I guess, isn't working anymore. And Bob Sheep makes a very fair point that some of the top teams in the league are carried by elite quarterback play and elite play on the perimeter. And that's not something that the Titans have currently. So when asked, from that, the Titans have, in the playoffs at least, kind of been stagnant or at least declining. What would Bob Shoop do to improve that?
Different direction. I would go in a different. I'm going to say the opposite of you. We're trending. I mean, I'm not giving an opinion. It's a fact. They're trending in the wrong direction. If the objective, again, is to compete for the AFC South Championship and host a playoff game, then it is what it is. But I sense that there's a bigger objective here.
And that was Bob Shoop on Stillman & Company yesterday. He says, go in a different direction. And he says, if the objective is to win the division and, compete for the AFC, then you're going to have to blow things up. You're going to have to change things. But to that, I'll say, the Titans were the top seed in the AFC just last year with this personnel within this system. The Titans have won the division, or did win the division, 3 years in a row with this quarterback, with this personnel within this system. So is it really, are the Titans' offensive problems, or the Titans' offensive woes really a problem with the quarterback? Is it really a problem within the system, that it's a run-first system and you have Ryan Tannehill as your quarterback, who's not an elite quarterback in the NFL? Or is it just the play caller? Is it the way that this offense has been handled? Because if you look at Ryan Tannehill, in 2020, the Titans had one of the top offenses in the league with Ryan Tannehill under center. Ryan Tannehill attempted to throw the ball 480 times in 2020. In 2022, he had 325 pass attempts. And I know that Ryan Tannehill was out for a few games, but that's a 160 pass attempt difference. In 2020, Ryan Tannehill threw for 33 touchdowns. In 2022, Ryan Tannehill threw for 13. So is it really necessarily, is that a decline with Ryan Tannehill? Is that a knock on the way that the Titans play offensively? Because they still hosted a playoff game in 2020 and 2021. But the play caller is different. Is it the play calling and the way that the system is managed? rather than the quarterback and the offensive personnel itself?
I think it's a bit of everything. It's a bit of the players, it's a bit of play calling, it's a bit of quarterback. Now, this year you got to sort of put this year for Ryan Tannehill in a different place because the offensive line was completely horrid pass blocking, and then he was injured. And I don't think he ever truly got comfortable, especially after the high ankle sprain. I don't think he ever really truly got comfortable behind that offensive line. I think had he been fully healthy, had that offensive line been a little bit better, your touchdowns would have been up. Now, would they have been to the prior year's number? I don't know, but they definitely would have been more than they were this year. And then, it's the play calling. It just seems like, and that is a hard job to do because you got to try to appease all your playmakers. And I think one thing that he failed to do early on, and it was sort of like a little bit too late, is to identify his playmakers and then do whatever he needed to do to get them the ball in the game, to make sure they were in the game, especially on critical downs. I think that's an indictment on him as well as the head coach. And then he just didn't. It just seems like he was lost at times on what to call and when to call it. Now, there was 2 games that he called, I thought, great. This last game versus Jacksonville then the Green Bay game. Mm-hmm. Those 2 games were great. And then in the first half of a lot of games, they were really good. But it was the second half. And then, where you couldn't score points, you couldn't generate anything as an offense. And you put your defense in a bad situation each and every week in the second halves. And then the players, he just didn't have enough players, I don't think. So it can be a little bit of all what you described, but he had to fall on the sword, so he's gone. But I'm with Coach Shoops. Listen, you're going to have to find your quarterback. You're not going to win a championship in this league. You're not, and it's been proven more times than not. You're not going to win unless you have that quarterback. That quarterback that you believe is, if he's not that elite franchise quarterback, is borderline. You got to have that. You got to have playmakers on the outside. You got to be able to stop people on defense. Well, the Titans have one of the 3. They can stop someone from scoring once they're fully healthy, but they don't have enough playmakers on the outside. And the quarterback situation is not a bad situation, but you can upgrade. And until you upgrade, you're going to continue to get the same things that you've been getting. Yes, you may win the division. Yes, you may get in the playoffs, but you're going to end up losing in the first or second round. Why? Because you don't have that quarterback. I can point you to every team, just about every team in the last 5 years that have progressed throughout the playoffs. What do they have in common? They have, just like Coach Shoup said, they got that quarterback and they got playmakers on the outside, more than one. And the Titans don't have that. They have one playmaker and they have a okay quarterback. Well, you're not going to win a championship with that. You're going to win games. That's obvious they've been doing that. You're going to get into the playoffs. It's obvious they've been doing that all but this year. But until you get your quarterback, you might as well just keep the team in status quo and keep barely getting in the playoffs and keep losing, once you get in the first or second game. Because until you get that quarterback, you're not going to go any further unless, every once in a while, a blind squirrel finds a nut. That's just how it is. And that may be your year. That was their year in 2020. Was it 2020 got the AFC Championship
2019.
game? 2019. Mm-hmm. That was their year right there. And then because they didn't have enough firepower and their defense wasn't as good, what happened to them? They end up losing to Kansas City. They got boat raced in the second half. Until they find their quarterback, not somebody else's quarterback that you're going to bring on your team, your quarterback. You've been searching for a quarterback since 2000. When did Steve leave? 2005, 6. You've been searching for your quarterback. You swung and you missed 3 times. You need to find your quarterback before you think about winning a championship.
But I think that it is a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, it is.
Because you can look at Indianapolis, for example, and no, Indianapolis hasn't necessarily sold out to get their guy, Indianapolis has been on the carousel for the past,
Why?
4 or
Because they
5
tried to
years?
get somebody else's quarterback.
Yeah, that's true. So what is your solution?
My solution, you find your guy in the draft. You get your guy. You find a way to get your guy in the first round. The Titans are 11th. Again, like we said yesterday, at least try to move up in the draft. Now, if the team says, nah, you're not giving us enough, then okay. But at least you've shown your fan base that we're trying to get our quarterback. Don't go get somebody else's quarterback because that's only a temporary thing. We're talking about a long-term relationship, okay? That's what we want. You had it with Steve McNair. You tried it with Jake Locker. You tried it with Marcus Mariota. You tried it with another quarterback. It just didn't work. Until you find that guy, you're going to keep on repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And maybe not even that because your division's getting better now. And they're going to find their quarterbacks. Now, they'll draft their quarterback. Now, whether that quarterback works out or not, that's a different story. But Indy is going to get their quarterback. Houston's going to get their quarterback. Jacksonville's already have theirs. So until you find yours, you're going to be left behind.
So, and I think that's a fair point, and that's the same point along the same lines that Bob Shoop said yesterday on Stillman & Company is you're going to have to go in a different direction because the direction that you're going down doesn't look like you're going in the right direction. And I could argue that direction is going in the wrong direction because of the play calling. But if you want to look ahead, 3, 4, 5 years, Ryan Tannehill is not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. He's not going to be able to put the entire team on his back. He's not a Joe Burrow that can single-handedly turn your franchise from the depths of the NFL to now you're in the Super Bowl. But I say it's play calling. But do they want to get that Joe Burrow? Do they want to find that quarterback of the future? And if they do that, you're going to have to go through a couple of tough years. You're going to have to make some really tough decisions. Is that something that everyone at the top within the Titans organization is going to be willing to do? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, right back into your phone, 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
The sports talk doesn't end on Friday. Join Michelle Knezovic and Junie Riddle for Michelle and Junie.
Have they truly been tested yet?
I really want this to be a good game.
Michelle and Junie, every Saturday morning at 9. Presented by Superbook Sports and the Nashville Jam Company.
I think Junie and I are going to go hit breakfast/brunch there after the show.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormonal deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve your quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Getting your guaranteed maximum refund with TaxSlayer feels like saddling up and chasing down.
Look at that sweet moolah!
That big old cash cow.
Look at all that money!
File for free with TaxSlayer Simply Free and get your guaranteed maximum refund. TaxSlayer. File fearlessly.
Hi guys, it's Mark with Hillside Medical Clinic. Are you struggling with erectile dysfunction and sick of the pills? Well, we have a major medical advancement that has helped thousands of men. Our wave technology is backed by 60 clinical studies, including from Cambridge University. It's been shown to increase blood flow by repairing blood vessels. No pills and no side effects. If you're ready to put a stop to your ED, call us now, and not only will the assessment and blood flow ultrasound be free, but will also include something unique that produces powerful results in the bedroom. You're going to love that one, guys. Trust me. This unprecedented offer is worth $600, but it's free to those who call in the next 2 minutes. Call 615-576-5000. That's 615-576-5000. Guys, put a stop to your erectile dysfunction and get your life back. Call Hillside Medical Clinic now to qualify. 615-576-5000.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win. They just invested a lot into this game. I thought it was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6. Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Different direction. I would go in a different. I'm going to say the opposite of you. We're trending. I mean, I'm not giving an opinion. It's a fact. They're trending in the wrong direction. If the objective again is to compete for the AFC South Championship and host a playoff game, then it is what it is. But I sense that there's a bigger objective here.
There you go. That was Bob Shoop on Stillman and Company yesterday saying this Titans team needs to go in a different direction. Move on from Ryan Tannehill. Move on from Derrick Henry. Start bringing in a new, fresh philosophy into this football team. D-Mase, you agree?
Yeah, I do. I think eventually, because I'm not looking at this team for next year. I'm looking at this team 2-3 years down the line, 4 years down the line. How will this team look? Because these guys on this team now come 2026, 27, and the only reason that's my sort of gauge is because that's when they're moving into their new stadium. So you want to have your roster, your quarterback, everything pretty much set when you move into that new stadium. So the guys that are on this roster now, the older guys, more than likely they will not be here come 2026, 27 when you enter into your new stadium.
Yeah.
So to me, you got to find your quarterback in that time period. You can't find that quarterback after you move into the stadium. What are you giving the fans to look forward to? What are you ushering into this new stadium? You want to be ushering in the foundation moving forward. And that foundation is your quarterback, the guy that can win you multiple championships potentially in your new stadium. So right now you have an opportunity to at least try to get him. So what do? You make the necessary moves, and all of this is predicated on who they bring in as GM and what Amy addresses to that GM, what her number one importance is for this team. Is it to go out and get a quarterback for the future? And I think that's, as an owner, that has to be your first thought. New GM, stadium, 3 years down the line, I need to have my quarterback, because the quarterback I have now, he's not a young quarterback. He's a good quarterback, but he's not a young quarterback, and he can't get us to where we want to go. So right now, we're in a prime position, because we may not be in this position next year. We may win enough games where we get in the playoffs, and now we're not in the top, 12 of a draft. And maybe the quarterbacks that are coming out next year are not as good as the 3 or 4 that are coming out this year. So you put yourself in a position to draft your future quarterback moving forward. You can still keep Ryan Tannehill for a year or two, but as long as I know I have my quarterback in-house, my young quarterback that I drafted in-house, then I'm good. I don't want to move on and try to, continue to win with Ryan Tannehill or go out and get a Derek Carr or Baker Mayfield, some of these, these other veteran quarterbacks. That was somebody else's mistake. I don't want to take on their mistakes. I want to go out and get my own guy that I can watch progress, that I can watch grow into the franchise quarterback that we want him to be. So to me, I'm with Choops, and I've always been there. Go and get your quarterback, but that doesn't mean you got to get rid of Ryan Tannehill, because he's going to be playing on a rookie deal anyway. Your quarterback, whoever you get, is going to be playing on a rookie deal anyway. So you can afford Ryan Tannehill for a year or two while this guy get up to speed.
And if you do decide to go and find your quarterback of the future and kind of shift things offensively, you're kind of looking at a little bit of a rebuild. You're looking at a few years of trying to get everything acclimated, and you're looking at a few years, you might have to take a few steps back in order to take a few steps forward.
But don't you think that this fan base is more willing, they would be more willing to do that, knowing that, okay, we've drafted our guy. He's our future quarterback, our elite quarterback, supposedly. Fans feel better if they know they have their quarterback than, going into next season not knowing if Ryan Tannehill is going to last the whole season or not knowing if he's going to be back the year after that. If you got an opportunity to have that guy in-house, that's what you sell to your fans. Listen, we may go through some years, 1 or 2 years, where we're not as good as we have been. But if we are to believe that Mike Vrabel is that good of a coach with a new guy, we're not going to fall that far behind. Do you think? At least from a defensive standpoint, we're going to be in games. We're not going to fall that far behind if indeed we believe that Vrabel is that type of guy.
It depends on what you're going to have to trade in order to get that quarterback that you're talking about. Because Chicago could say, we want Jeffrey Simmons.
Well, you give Jeffrey Simmons up.
Well, then defensively, then you're not going to be able to carry the load.
You'll still be good enough, because what you would do is now you no longer have that contract that you have to give to Jeffrey Simmons, or that you don't have to tag. So that money that you would have had to tag him, because what it will essentially be is a sign and trade. You would have to sign him to a deal in order to trade him away to Chicago Bulls. Now you don't not Chicago Bulls, Chicago Bears. That'd be a heck of a thing to be traded to the Bulls.
Yeah, mascots are tough.
But no, if you trade him to the Bears, now that contract is off your books. Now you can team somebody up with Danico Autry. Team somebody up with Danico Autry. The line is not going to be as dominant. I give you that. It's not going to be as dominant without Jeffrey Simmons. But again, if we are to believe that Mike Vrabel is this great coach and Shane Bowen is this great defensive coordinator, which I believe they are, they're really good coaches, then the defense won't fall that much. They won't be who they were, but they will not be a horrible defense.
But you say, the fans could be patient knowing that they have their quarterback of the future. And I don't think it's necessarily up to the fans. I think how much patience does everybody else, the general manager and the owner, have through a rebuild? We asked Tim Hasselbeck that same question earlier this week. This was Tim Hasselbeck.
I just don't think you have the time to do it. Like, look, Matt Rule in Carolina signed an 8-year contract or something absurd when he signed with the Panthers. But it wasn't working, so he's gone. Or look at Pete Carroll. Like, look, I think there are a lot of people are like, what is Pete doing? And he obviously done a nice job coaching that team, but like this idea of like, hey, we're going to rebuild. Like, you'd get fired. And so I think what you have to do is you just have to get it right in terms of when you move on from an older player, and sometimes it's going to hurt and sometimes it'll be unpopular.
And again, that was Tim Hasselbeck, NFL, ESPN analyst. I think that's it. This is a move that could get you fired. This is a move that could get Mike Vrabel fired. Even understanding that, hey, we're going through a rebuild, we're going to go through a few down years. It didn't take Nathaniel Hackett very long to get booted out of Denver. Mm-hmm. And there have been several coaches that have had to fall on the sword through a rebuild. And I don't know, are you willing to move on from Mike Vrabel? If that's what that means. If you go through a rebuild and you have a few down years, and Amy Adams-Strunk doesn't have the patience for that. Mm-hmm. She says, we traded Derrick Henry and Jeffrey Simmons, hypothetically speaking, and all of these first-round picks in order to get our quarterback, because you told me that we were going to get to the playoffs and we were going to win a Super Bowl this way, and things don't look promising. There's not a lot of patience in the NFL. And I'm not saying that's the wrong decision to make, but that's the truth at hand.
No, you're right. But if I'm an owner, I'm not making moves so my head coach doesn't get fired. That's his job to put together a team that can win on the field. My job as an owner is to make sure that I get my quarterback. Because once you get your quarterback as an owner, you're good. and you just let everybody else do the job of surrounding your quarterbacks. But I'm not making my future decision on whether whether my head coach will be here or not because of that decision. No, I'm making a decision based upon how I want my franchise to look moving forward. If I want for it to stay status quo, he can still end up getting fired. Because why? We don't have we don't have a franchise quarterback, and everybody else is getting old. So you're still going to end up getting fired either way. So if I'm an owner, I'm like, go out and get my quarterback and do your job as a head coach. We see what they did down in up in Seattle. Mm-hmm. They got rid of their quarterback, and they still were able. Not last year, not 2022, 2021 was a bit of a struggle for them, but this past season they did much better than what a lot of people expected. Well, if Pete Carroll can do it, and we don't think if you start lining up coaches, I think Vrabel would be ahead of Pete Carroll. If Pete Carroll can do it, then Vrabel, you can do it too. It's not like it's unheard of for in sort of a, not necessarily a rebuild, but sort of a retooling of the team. It's not heard of when a coach does that or a franchise does that the head coach finds a way to win. Pittsburgh has been retooling for, I think, the last 3 years, because Ben hasn't been Ben for a while, but he's been in that spot. They've been retooling that roster for the last 3 or 4 years. Mike Tomlin continues to win, and Ben, I would have, if you probably asked people in Pittsburgh, like anonymously, the last 2 or 3 years, would you have rather wanted another quarterback or Ben Roethlisberger? Considering the way Ben's played, they will probably say, we probably wanted to possibly get our franchise quarterback a little bit earlier and allow Ben to retire, But they managed to do it with Ben. He was not a top 10 quarterback the last 3 years. Hell, he might not even been a top 20 quarterback the last 2 or 3 years. But they managed to win. Why? Because whatever the head coach was doing, it was the right thing to do. That team they were building as the quarterback was getting old. Ben Roethlisberger wasn't a top 10, top 15, or top 20 quarterback the last 2 or 3 years, but they managed to keep on winning. If we believe that Vrabel's that type of coach, then hey, Vrabel, you're going to have to win, all while we are in the process of grooming our franchise quarterback.
And you make a fair point that Amy Adams-Strunk can't be so nervous about what might happen. She needs to make those decisions. But with the Steelers example, yes, the Steelers have been winning enough games. I mean, they barely snuck in the playoffs last year, missed the playoffs this year. So, yes, they've been winning, and they've been about a 500 team-ish over the past couple of years. I don't think that's what this Titans team wants. And maybe it's take a few steps back in order to take leaps and bounds forward. There's no guarantee. But the game of, treading water, basically, what I feel like Pittsburgh has been doing, and maybe they are retooling and treading water and barely squeaking into the playoffs, or at least, just barely missing the playoffs over the last few years. And then that's going to pay dividends, in future years. And they'll be Super Bowl contenders and in the playoffs consistently year in and year out. And I don't know the answer to that. And maybe they just stay stuck in the status quo as a 9-8, 8-9 team year after year. And I don't know the right path to go down. But I think that is a serious thing that Amy Adams-Strunk and Mike Vrabel have to answer and have to decide if this is truly going to be a collaboration. Is a rebuild something that they want to go down? And is Mike Vrabel willing to do that, understanding that it might cost his job? And that's a really risky and really tough decision to make.
Yeah, it is, but as an owner, you got to make the decision that's best for your franchise, not the decision that's best for your head coach. Because believe me, if he gets fired, he's a good enough coach that GMs or owners will look at the situation and be like, okay, they were in a sort of a rebuild. He did the best he could. We're at a different point in our franchise. Let's bring him in here. We saw what he did, what he was able to do, for that 4 or 5 year stint, and he was a damn good coach. So let's bring him on our coach staff. He wouldn't be a out of work coach for very long.
D-Mase wants a quarterback bad. D-Mase wants his guy. And we've been talking about, should the Titans do whatever it takes in order to get their quarterback of the future in the draft? Is there another quarterback out there that they could get in a different way? We'll get into that coming up next. And, of course, your phone, 615-737-1025. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
All right, my time to tell you about Superbook Sports. Add this to your New Year's resolutions. Win money in 2023 with Superbook Sports. Superbook has over 3 decades of sports wagering experience in Las Vegas, so you'll get the best odds anywhere as we head into the football playoffs. Plus, you can check out their special odds boosts and promotions over at Superbook.com. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Las Vegas. Download the Superbook Sports app now and place your bets. If you look ahead to this weekend, Super Wild Card weekend on the Superbook Sports app, there are obviously a lot of good games that you can pick from, including the Giants +3 against Minnesota. That is the one that I really, really like. That is my lock of the weekend. Check it out at the Superbook Sports app. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
More than 95% of people incarcerated will come home like I did. I'm William Arnold, director of the new Tennessee Office of Reentry. When they come home, we want to be ready to help remove barriers to employment. It's okay if you've been incarcerated or justice involved. Help is available. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
Your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators concluded their road trip in Montreal last night, losing 4-2 against the Canadiens, but Yaroslav Askarov made his NHL debut, making 31 saves, and CEO of the Nashville Predators, Sean Henry, joined Chase and Michelle following the loss.
We're pretty happy about it, and obviously we wish Askarov didn't have to play last night, but he came in and filled in. His Lankinen wasn't feeling right, but it was so fun to see him. Every once in a while you get to see the future played out before you.
Now your Nashville Predators will play the next 6 of 7 games at home to conclude January. And your Tennessee Titans continued their general manager search with an interview with Ian Cunningham today and then Quentin Harris on Saturday. The NFL wildcard slate begins on Saturday with Chargers and Jags, along with Seahawks and 49ers. My name is Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne.
Bobby and Rex Road. Chase and Michelle.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase.
Stone Company.
Nashville's best sports talk.
Crank it up.
102.5 and 106.3.
Crank City scores.
On both sides of the one big possession.
Touchdown, Middle Tennessee.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are live from the Game studio, brought to you by Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. And, of course, you can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. Ask D-Mase in 30 minutes. So make sure to get your calls, your texts, your questions in for D-Mase. And the best question for D-Mase will win 4 tickets to see Belmont men's basketball take on Murray State on January 17th. So make sure to get those questions in for D-Mase. We will get to those in 30 minutes. D-Mase, you want a quarterback and you want your guy bad. I know you do. I know that's what you want the Titans to do in the offseason. Find the quarterback of the future. And I think in the past, since the NFL is such a copycat league, in the past, the path to a Super Bowl and the path to finding your next quarterback, your next guy of the future that is going to lead you to a Super Bowl was be bad enough to draft first overall in the draft, and you find your guy at the top of the draft. It's what the Arizona Cardinals did with Kyler Murray. Go way far back. It's what the St. Louis Rams did with Sam Bradford when they were just awful for so many years. It's what the Cincinnati Bengals did with Joe Burrow. They were so awful. They got the first overall pick, and the Cincinnati Bengals lucked out with being bad enough and having the first overall pick in a draft where Joe Burrow was in that draft. So that was kind of the blueprint. And then the Rams switched things up. They kind of switched up that narrative that you didn't necessarily have to be so bad and get the first overall pick in the draft and draft your quarterback of the future. You didn't have to do that as long as you were willing to give up what it takes to find a guy who was proven. And that's what the Rams' path to the Super Bowl was. They said, F them picks. They got all the tools that they needed, and they found the quarterback that they thought was going to be the one to lead them to a Super Bowl, and they did. The Rams recreated a potential blueprint or a potential roadmap to winning a Super Bowl. Now, we've been talking, you and I, D-Mase, pretty much all week long about how the Titans could use the former blueprint to a Super Bowl, finding your guy in the draft. But is there a guy out there that they could use the Rams blueprint and the Rams roadmap to potentially win a Super Bowl? Because you look at the guys out there, Aaron Rodgers has been in the conversation. I'm out on Aaron Rodgers. I don't need the Titans giving up picks to go get Aaron Rodgers, who I think the Titans would just absolutely hate having him within this organization. But is there another guy out there? Stephen A. Smith on First Take yesterday mentioned one that could potentially be on the trade market.
What should the Ravens do about Lamar?
Trade him.
What?
You heard what I said?
Trade him?
Trade him.
Oh, I thought we were going to say, we'll hope Tyler Huntley gets back. I didn't know we were going there.
Well, listen, he hasn't practiced. He's missed the 16th straight practice. This is the second consecutive season that he has been out for the last 5 games of the regular season. Let me be very, very clear. Lamar Jackson is an electrifying talent that I want on my team any day of the week. But clearly, it's taken a while to get that long-term contract situation done, Dan Orlovsky. So my mentality is, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, all right, clearly there's difficulty in getting him inked to a long-term deal.
Okay. Stephen A. Smith saying Lamar Jackson could potentially be on the trade market. First and foremost, the question that we have to ask is, would the Ravens even be willing to do that? I mean, the Ravens have built up this team completely around Lamar Jackson. He is the Baltimore Ravens. Would they be willing to trade him?
Man, you're going to have to give up a lot to get Lamar Jackson. I mean, a lot. You're going to have to give up more to get Lamar Jackson than you would have to move up in the draft. And then you got to turn around and pay him guaranteed money.
3 first-round picks probably for Lamar.
Yeah,
and in late
guaranteed
rounds,
money.
Yeah. And so it'll be $40+ million a year.
Yeah. So, again, as much as I like Lamar as a quarterback, I'm not even talking about an athlete. I know everybody goes to, I like him as a athlete or as a, football player. No, I like Lamar as a quarterback. The thing about Lamar is this. As much as they built this offense around him, everyone that is saying they like him as a athlete and not much as a quarterback haven't looked at what they've done from a receiver standpoint for him. They have not done much for him to get him outside help. They got him a hell of a tight end. Like, I take the tight end. Give me the tight end along with Chiga Conquo, both of them together. Oh, my goodness. We can run Super Bowl after Super Bowl once we get our quarterback. But that's the only thing that he has as a legitimate pass catcher. It's Andrews. That's it. Everyone else, it's just like a revolving door because for some reason, they have not been able to draft a legitimate pass catcher since the inception of the franchise for whatever reason. So, yes, you can say, and they have built this offense around Lamar. They have, but they have not helped him out any. They have not gotten him a top flight pass catcher, either through the draft, which they should have by now, or through free agency. They haven't consistently got someone, or if they did, it's only been for 3 or 4 years.
And they drafted Rashad Bateman last year.
Absolutely. And he's been injured, but he's come on. But they need someone that can come in there and legitimately be a star for them at the receiver position. And Lamar hasn't had that. Now, if he goes to another team that's already set up for that, then he will be a much better quarterback. We said for 2 years, we were getting ready to write off Josh Allen. Like, this guy he doesn't have it. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, they get Diggs, and they get some other people, and they get some other people. All of a sudden, it's like he's an elite quarterback.
Well, look at the Eagles.
The same thing.
I said in the draft last year when the Titans traded A.J. Brown to the Eagles, mm-hmm. I said, what in the world does Philadelphia have to do to realize that they can have to stop spending all of these elite draft picks and really good capital on wide receivers until you realize Jalen Hurts is your problem. Mm-hmm. But I was incredibly wrong because that's exactly what Jalen Hurts needed. They spent a first-round pick on Devontae Smith, spent a first-round pick on A.J. Brown. And it worked. Mm-hmm. Now Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate.
They built up the offensive line, and they got him a tight end, and Jalen Hurts looks like the best quarterback in the National Football League.
I'm not going to go that far, but he looks pretty good. I'm just saying,
is he the best quarterback? No. But at times, there's nothing he can't do. Mm-hmm. You want him to run the ball? He can run the ball. You want him to throw the football? He can throw the football. There's nothing that he can't do as a quarterback. Why? Because you got him help. Lamar's the same reason. If you surround him, if you give him help, he's already an electrifying player. He's a damn good quarterback, but if you get him the necessary pieces, he goes from a damn good quarterback to an elite quarterback now because he got people to throw to. So if I'm the Baltimore Ravens, I'm not looking to trade him. I'm looking to surround him with a bunch of new players, give him his deal, and away we go because now you have your quarterback in-house. You trade him away, let's see what happened to your franchise when you trade Lamar Jackson away. You're going to be searching for a quarterback for the next 5 or 6 years.
And that's the thing, is that's the first question we have to ask is, would Baltimore even be willing to do it? I don't think that they would. But let's live in fairy tale land for a little bit. That Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, with all of this contract negotiations and all of the disputes that they've had with one another, that Lamar's like, look, I just need to, and he's a free agent 2023, but let's say the Ravens sign him to a contract, and Lamar says, I want out. I want to be traded. Then should the Titans be suitors?
No, they still shouldn't be suitors. Again, I'm going to stick to what I said. I want, as much as I like Lamar Jackson as a quarterback and as a football player, I want my own quarterback. I want my own quarterback that I can go out and scout, that I can bring in, that I can groom to be that guy. I don't want somebody else's quarterback, because even with Lamar Jackson, you bring him in, dynamic player, dynamic to me, quarterback, but you have to build that. You have to build the offense around him. You got to do some things around him. You got to go out and get another pass catcher. You got to go out and rebuild your offensive line. I don't think if you bring in Lamar in, you got to trade away picks, and then you got to pay him. So where does that leave you as far as rebuilding your team? Not much. You can't do much in regards to rebuilding your team. So to me, I'm going to stick with what I said. Go and get your own quarterback. Move up in the draft. Get your quarterback. Build your team around your franchise quarterback that you will have, hopefully, for the next 15 years. And we will never, ever have to worry about a quarterback situation again, because we got our number one and we got our number two in Joshua Dobbs.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. Should the Titans go after Lamar Jackson if the Ravens do decide to trade Lamar Jackson? We'll get into your thoughts on that, my thoughts on that, plus ask D-Mase in 15 minutes. So get your questions in for D-Mase. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Your home for the MTSU Blue Raiders is 102.5 and 106.3 The Game. Every touchdown.
Yes, touchdown.
Every three.
Free ball, yes, sir.
It all lives here.
Middle Tennessee.
You can also hear the Blue Raiders in the Borough on 97.5, Middle Tennessee Athletics on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
To all our men listeners out there, I need to tell you something about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife Daphne, along with that experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD services have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee, including me, with improving their immune systems, energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle, people. What are you waiting on, man? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today and make that appointment like I did. And here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit their website at coolspringsmd.com.
This is for the men who never settle, the ones who believe only quitters end a game in a tie, the type of guys who choose the bar with the biggest TVs to overcompensate for theirs at home. This is the Lodge mentality. This is Twin Peaks.
No one does happy hour like Twin Peaks. From tequila cocktails and an extensive bourbon category to top shelf spirits and cocktails served over ice balls, local craft beers and handcrafted whiskey cocktails round out an adventurous drink menu. And don't forget about their 29-degree man-sized drafts.
All right, folks, we got Wild Card Weekend, NFL Wild Card Weekend. The easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Joe Rex here to let you know new customers join today. Get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you got to do is sign up with promo code JOE102. FanDuel's got all your favorite bets, money line, point spreads, player props, but you can combine them for a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. If I was looking at, let's say, Jags-Chargers, could be Titans-Chargers. Instead, it's Jag-Chargers. I tell you what, I would be looking at the Chargers. I'd be looking at Justin Herbert over, and I'd be looking at Christian Kirk anytime touchdown. You do this on an app that's safe, secure, super easy to use. Do not miss out. Place that first $5 bet, get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code JOE102. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner in the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee for a sign. Room and wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is now $12 free bets. Expire 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambler problem, call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Hi, I'm Steve Lehman. Stay tuned to 102.5 The Game for your chance to win tickets to an upcoming Belmont basketball game.
Anyone want to tell me what happened? Did you miss any of today's show?
It's okay. It's fine. Don't worry.
Subscribe to the Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase podcast on Apple, Spotify, and other podcast platforms, or by going to theGameNashville.com.
All right, I'll give it a shot.
Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
What should the Ravens do about Lamar?
Trade him.
What?
You heard what I said?
Trade him?
Trade him.
Oh, I thought we were going to say, well, hope Tyler Huntley gets back. I didn't know we were going there.
Well, listen, he hasn't practiced. He's missed the 16th straight practice. This is the second consecutive season that he has been out for the last 5 games of the regular season. Let me be very, very clear. Lamar Jackson is an electrifying talent that I want on my team any day of the week. But clearly, it's taken a while to get that long-term contract situation done, Dan Orlovsky. So my mentality is, if you're the Baltimore Ravens, all right, clearly there's difficulty in getting him inked to a long-term deal.
There you go. That was Stephen A. Smith on First Take yesterday. He says, Lamar Jackson, Baltimore Ravens, trade him. Trade him. So should the Titans be in on the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes? And there are so many questions that have yet to be answered from the Titans organization of if this is even a possibility, of do they want to move on from Ryan Tannehill? I don't know the answer to that question. If not, then this is all just a moot point. Do the Ravens even have any interest of trading Lamar Jackson? And I don't know the answer to that question, but I have to say probably not, seeing as though this franchise is built around Lamar Jackson. But let's live in fantasy land. Mm-hmm. Let's live in a world where the Ravens are willing to deal Lamar Jackson and the Titans are in need of a quarterback. He would make this team infinitely better. He could come in and the Titans would be talked about as a Super Bowl contender with Lamar Jackson as the starting quarterback. And he's a proven commodity. I think that's why the Rams move to trade for Matthew Stafford was so attractive, because you don't have to wait out through the rookie years of, the first year when you're probably going to be bad, a la Trevor Lawrence and the Jacksonville Jaguars. That you know for certain that this guy has success in the league. We know that he can compete at this level. He's a proven commodity and not as much of a risk as maybe perhaps drafting a quarterback, period. But then I think about Russell Wilson and what the Denver Broncos did in order to get Russell Wilson. Trading all of those picks, trading Noah Fant, and Russell Wilson comes in, and everybody thought that the Broncos were going to be, the next team in the AFC, that the Denver Broncos all of a sudden were going to be Super Bowl contenders. But Denver didn't do anything to improve the team around Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson didn't have any targets to throw to. There was no talent around Russell Wilson. When Jerry Jeudy is probably your best receiver, that puts you in a pretty difficult spot. No disrespect to Jerry Jeudy, but he's not Justin Jefferson. No, he's not one of the top receivers in the league. So I think that is one thing that kind of makes me nervous about it, is we see the Russell Wilsons. When you don't have appropriate weapons around the quarterback that you sold out to get, you're not going to be very good, and now you're stuck with no picks. So you're bad, you don't have any talent around your quarterback, and you have no picks to go out and get him. And, also, by the way, you're paying him $45 million a year.
Well, that was Denver's fault. I never looked at Russell Wilson as an elite quarterback. I looked at him as a good quarterback that benefited a lot from that historical defense and Marshawn Lynch, the way he was running. He can't carry a team by himself. It was proven once they broke that defense down. He wasn't the same guy. And even though he had playmakers, he was going to put up numbers, but he wasn't going to win you championships alone. You had to have other things to go along with that. So I never looked at Russell as a elite quarterback. A good quarterback, absolutely, he's a good quarterback. But elite quarterback, they sold out as if he was Peyton Manning and Tom Brady when he was nowhere near Peyton Manning or nowhere near Tom Brady. Hell, he's nowhere near Joe Burrow. But they sold out as if he was that guy. The problem with Lamar Jackson is this: if you're looking to trade for him, or if the Ravens are looking to put him on the trading blocks, which I don't think I think that would be like the last resort for them if they know they knew they just couldn't do anything. Someone's going to want you to sign and trade. Someone's going to want to make sure we can get a deal done. Not a fifth, not working on your fifth year, contract with that fifth year where he's scheduled to make, I think, 45. That tag is 45.6, I think, for a quarterback for a 1 year deal. Teams are not. I don't think teams are going to agree to that. They're going to want you to sign him to a long-term deal and then trade him because they don't want to deal with the hassle of trying to sign Lamar, because he might end up in the same situation he is with Baltimore, not being able to work out a deal. So if you're going to trade Lamar, it has to be a sign and trade. You sign him, trade him to us, and then we'll give you what you want. I don't know if Baltimore's at that point yet, because if they can work on it, if they can sign him, they're going to keep him. Point blank. If they can sign him, they're going to keep him. So I don't see Lamar Jackson going anywhere. But if it did come to that, again, I want my own quarterback. As much as I like Lamar Jackson, as much as I would love to have him here, I want my own quarterback. I want a guy that I went out and scouted. If I'm the GM, I went out and scouted, and I truly believe that with this offense or these players, he can fit right in. If I bring Lamar in, I'm going to have to change some things. I am. Yeah. As an offensive coordinator, I'm going to have to as a head coach, I'm going to have to change some things.
Yeah, your system changes.
Exactly. But if I go out and get my quarterback, I know exactly what I'm getting. I know exactly how he fits in our standing offense and what he can do for that offense. Again, I don't want somebody else's deal. I don't want somebody else's problem. Not to say Lamar is a problem, but I don't want somebody else's problem. I want my own. I want to go out and get my own. I want to groom a guy so I can look back and say 2 years later, this is the guy we went and got in. Look at where he's taking us.
And we always have the conversation with Ryan Tannehill. Is Ryan Tannehill the quarterback that can get you to a Super Bowl single-handedly? And the answer is no. The answer is no. He's not that kind of quarterback. There have been conversations, those same conversations being had about Lamar Jackson. Because Lamar Jackson has not gone any further in the playoffs than Ryan Tannehill has gotten the Titans. I mean, since Lamar Jackson has taken over as a starting quarterback, the Baltimore Ravens, they've gotten bounced in the wild card round, went to the divisional round of the playoffs in 2019. That's when the Titans beat them in 2019. Went to the divisional round of the playoffs in 2020 after beating the Titans at home in the wild card round, and then lost to the Bills in the divisional round. And then in 2022 wild card round, they lost to the Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm going to ask you this before you finish it. The last year, when everybody had picked the Titans, the road to the Super Bowl goes to Tennessee.
Yeah.
You had A.J. Brown, you had Derrick Henry, you had Deontay Foreman. You had some good pieces in place. The offensive line was decent. Do you think with that roster, and I'll give you my answer after yours, do you think with that roster last year or year before, whatever it was, you insert Lamar Jackson, do they win the Super Bowl?
Does Lamar Jackson throw 3 interceptions?
No, Lamar's never. I mean, Lamar.
I'd say yes.
Say Lamar is who he has been because he's gotten better each and every year. Who he has been as a player. You saw what he was able to do with just a tight end. Now you add a tight end, you add a receiver, then you add this running back in that offense. You're winning a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson, if that is indeed the case.
Because I think the Titans could have won the Super Bowl last year with Ryan Tannehill, without an elite quarterback. You add an elite quarterback into the mix, that's a really freaking dangerous team.
So my thing was, what I was trying to say is this. Every elite quarterback needs pass catchers. Every one of them. From Tom Brady to Peyton Manning, they all need them. They can, without them, they can still probably get you to a playoffs. I'm not saying that. But in order to win those championships, they need players that can step up in big moments. If Tom didn't have those guys stepping up in big moments, he may not win some of those Super Bowls. If Peyton Manning doesn't have Marvin Harrison and Wayne, he may not win those Super Bowls. He may get to them. He may. Here's what I'm saying. Because we put so much. Aaron Rodgers is a perfect example. Without pass catchers, Aaron Rodgers is not an elite quarterback. He's not. We may want to believe he's an elite quarterback. He has an elite quarterback arm. He has an elite quarterback mind. But without the pass catchers, you ain't going to damn place. You're sitting at home just like Ryan Tannehill. So you got to have those elite guys on the outside to even give you an opportunity to make it to a Super Bowl. You just have to. Even to get you to an AFC Championship game consistently, you got to have in this era of football. No longer can you win Super Bowls with just running the ball effectively and probably having one pass catcher. You can't do it anymore. You have to have multiple pass catchers. I don't even think you really have to have a dominant Derrick Henry run game. But if you got those pass catchers on the outside, you got your nice defense, you're going to win a championship because you have that elite quarterback. That's why Aaron Rodgers has not won a Super Bowl since when? I don't know. It's been years. When he won his Super Bowl, they had a hell of a defense. They had the Defensive Player of the Year in Woodson. They had pass catchers on the outside. All he had to do was come in and be Aaron Rodgers. He doesn't have that no more. Has he been back to the Super Bowl? No. So we put a lot on these quarterbacks and say, they're elite, they're elite, they're elite. But without pass catchers, what are you? You're not. You're a elite quarterback just getting your team into a playoff, and that's as far as you can go. You're not winning the Super Bowl without those elite pass catchers.
Yeah, and all of that to say, I'm out on the Lamar Jackson sweepstakes. If it's even a possibility. I mean, I'm out on it. The picks that you would have to give up and the holes that this team has to fill, I'm out on it. But it's fun to think about.
It's a nice dream, ain't it?
Yeah. 615-737-1025 is our phone number. Ask D-Mase coming up next. And remember, the best question for D-Mase will get a nice prize. So get your calls, get your texts in for D-Mase. We'll get into that coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
ESPN Titans NFL Nation reporter Teron Davenport brings knowledge.
3 touchdowns. He was processing, getting rid of the ball quickly.
Passion.
Make no mistake about it. He absolutely has to hit the ground running.
And expertise on the two-tone blue and the NFL. Join TD every Monday at 11, Thursdays at 3, and Friday morning at 8 for all the latest on your favorite team. Teron Davenport is presented by Craneworks on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey guys, the new year is here! And for many of us, that means making resolutions to get healthier and in better shape. But if you don't have that youthful energy, if you aren't sleeping well, if you feel like you're walking around in a fog all day, just resolving to get out of bed can be tough, let alone getting back in the gym. But you should know that there are many men feeling this way in these modern times, because low testosterone is affecting more men than ever. And low T can cause all kinds of issues like a reduced sex drive, poor sleep patterns, general fatigue, ineffective workouts. It can even contribute to ED. But the good news is that the medical team at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are experts in treating low T. Many men have experienced life-changing results. Testosterone therapy can help increase energy, workouts, make you feel more rested, and enjoy a greater sex drive too. So make a resolution to find that guy you used to be. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes a medical consult and testosterone panel. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects. Treatment sex drive results vary.
This week in Vanderbilt history, January 10th, 2006. Finally, a happy ride home from Lexington as the Commodores defeat Kentucky at Rupp Arena for the first time in 29 tries, 57-52. Vandy great Shane Foster hit key shots and scored 16 as Kevin Stallings' team improved to 11-2 on the season and 2-0 in the SEC. The black and gold jumped out to a hot start and later held off a run by the Cats, who raced a 14-point deficit to take the lead. The 2 free throws by Julian Terrell pushed the Commodores in front for good. Vanderbilt was outstanding from the free throw line, going 21 of 25. JT had 11 points and 8 rebounds. Damari Carroll scored 15 with 11 boards, and Derek Byers put up 12 points on the night. The win was the first in Lexington for a Commodore team since 1974, when the Wildcats played at Memorial Coliseum. A long-awaited victory and part of the season sweep of UK, and Vandy actually won at Rupp Arena again the following season. Commodores 57, Kentucky 52 in January 2006. This week in Vanderbilt history, I'm Kevin Ingram.
When that door closed behind me and I was free, the main thing I wanted to do was just re-enter society, get a job, and see my family.
It's okay.
There's a new state office of re-entry in Tennessee, specifically to help folks like me get jobs. Go to tnworkready.com or visit your local American Job Center. Re-entry is a normal thing, and it's okay.
Brought to you by the Tennessee Department of Labor and Workforce Development, the Tennessee Association of Broadcasters, and this station.
tnworkready.com.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey, this is Jordan Rogers, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 The Game.
D-Mase. He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D-Mase.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on Caroline, Willy, and
D-Mase.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
It's time for Ask D-Mase. Get your questions in for D-Mase. You can call him in, text him in 615-737-1025. Ask D-Mase is brought to you by Curation CBD. Find their healing products at CurationCompany.com. Curation CBD products curated for life. And use promo code D-Mase, D-M-A-S-E at CurationCompany.com for 25% off Curation CBD products. Now remember, the best question asked for D-Mase will win 4 tickets to see Belmont Bruins men's basketball take on Murray State on January 17th at the Curb Event Center. That's Belmont Bruins basketball on January 17th. Let's get into it because the people have questions for D-Mase.
Let's go.
One texter texts in and asks D-Mase, but we already have a quarterback. What about Malik Willis? Are you out on him or no?
Man, I think he's going to do what he needs to do in the offseason to be a better quarterback, first and foremost. But don't think he's ready. I think he needs another year because I think this year was just it set him back. Because to me, he wasn't supposed to see the field at all. And I think each game he didn't get better. It seemed like things started to get a little worse. And granted, it could be because of the personnel too. I get that. But I think he's a guy that, will he ever be a starter? I don't know. But can he be a backup in this league? I think so. I've seen enough backups that are not good. And I would love to believe and want to believe that Malik Willis will be at least good enough to be a backup one of these days. But not at this point in time. I think you need to come in and get this quarterback position situated quickly. Yeah, he can be in your future plans as a backup, but you need a starter now. Not saying that there's something wrong with Ryan Tannehill, but you need your starter for the future. And you need a guy that you know has the skill set, that has been through big games, that understands it, and you see it when you watch him play. A guy that I don't have to wonder about whether can he really play at this level considering, what he was taught in college. No, I want a guy that, at least in my mind, I believe that can come in and potentially, like in the next year, be my starting quarterback. Malik Willis is not there. He's not.
I don't even think he can be the backup next year.
It's going to be tough. That's why I'm keeping Joshua Dobbs, and allowing Malik Willis to become a better player. And listen, just because it doesn't work here doesn't mean it won't work at another team. He may go to another team and it work out perfectly. But right now, I don't think he's ready to see the field at this point in time. Again, he may come back in the offseason and he may do a 180. And we may be looking at this and like, wow, this kid really did some work in the offseason. Mm-hmm. But then again, he could come back and be the same player. So I can't wish on that. I need to have my guys in place. And right now, Dobbs is my backup. Ryan Tannehill is my starter. And I'm trying to go out and get my future quarterback.
And how much time can the Titans really afford to let Malik Willis develop? And how long can they really hope that he turns into a quarterback that can at least be on the field?
They're going to give him, I would say he's going to be on this roster somehow, some way, some form of fashion next season.
Mm-hmm.
If he's not, I would be surprised. But beyond that, I don't know. Mm-hmm. I really don't.
Cole texts in with a question for D-Mase. Asks, what was the hardest contract incentive that you've ever had?
Because you don't want to, live in that world where, your contract is made up of a bunch of incentives. There were a few that I reached, a few that were attainable. I think every incentive that was in my contract was an attainable incentive, whether it be 50-plus catches, 70-plus catches, 1,000 yards, 7-plus touchdowns, stuff like that. That was easily attainable. But they just put it, you put it in there because that's extra money, you get in a sense, but it's built into the contract. So I don't think there was ever anything. I didn't have to worry about games because I think I only missed, 2 games in my Tennessee Titan career, maybe 3. So I didn't have to worry about that. But there was nothing that I looked at my contract was like, whoa, will I ever be able to reach this? No. If you wanted to put 1,500, 1,600 yards, let's go. That gives me more motivation to get that 1,600 yards.
Josh texted in with a question for D-Mase. Asks, have you ever wanted to be an offensive coordinator?
No.
Hinting at your future job with the Tennessee Titans.
No. Never wanted to be an offensive coordinator. I mean, their job, look at them. We're critiquing. We're throwing Downing out the door. He's been thrown out the door, man. They get, again, that's a
cutthroat. Yeah,
it's a cutthroat job right there. I mean, it's a cutthroat business, but the offensive coordinator job, you can't hide. Like the offensive, like the receiver coach, he can sort of hide behind the scenes. The running backs coach can hide behind the scenes. These other coaches, but when you're a defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator, head coach, you ain't hiding behind nobody. They see it. Like, here are the mistakes, or here are the things that you're doing well. So, I've never really thought about being an OC or a coach in the NFL that never, because I saw how much time it took and how much time they were away from their families. And I'm like, man, I went through that for 15 years. You know, I don't want to go through it for another 15 or 20 years. If I do get a job at coaching, I don't want to be on that level. You know, it just takes a lot, man. And then, you know, like Deion Sanders said it perfectly. I'm not into coaching rich folks. You know, I want to coach like the kids that
kiddos.
They want this. You can see it in their eyes when they walk through the door. I don't really have to. The motivation is them walking in the door and them wanting to be in the NFL one day or wanting to be a starter on this team. Rich players walking through the locker room, man, it's just totally different. It's totally different, you know. So I would rather be on the college coaching carousel than the pro coaching carousel.
But now the kids in college are rich folks.
Yeah, but it's still a little different.
Yeah.
I think it's still a little different. I think it's still the purity is still in their eyes. It's still in their ability. They still want to learn, you know. You get up in this level, these players ain't. A lot of them ain't. You teach me. It's, you know, I know what I know, and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do my thing. And a lot of times it works out. You understand it.
Yeah.
You know. So, but I would rather do that at the college level than the pro level.
One texter text in says, do you think the Titans win the Super Bowl last year with Tom Brady as the quarterback?
No.
No?
I think they have a better shot at winning it. I think they at least get the AFC Championship game. At least that's the least. But because my thing is, you know, it's hard to get to a Super Bowl. It's even harder to win it. And everything has to happen. Everything has to happen just right. Everything almost has to happen perfectly. You look at all these Super Bowls. You look at the Rams last year. They shouldn't have won that game, the NFC Championship game.
It was a bobbled pick-six in the or a bobbled interception in the end zone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It takes luck to get to that point, you know, because everybody, once you get to the playoffs and once you get to the AFC Championship game, the NFC Championship game, these games are closely contested. Mm-hmm. Look at Buffalo in Kansas City last year. It's hard to get there. So I would have loved to think yes, but you just never know.
A better shot, absolutely.
A better shot, absolutely.
I'd put my money on it. If Tom Brady quarterbacked this team last year, I would say they'd probably win the Super Bowl. But that's so easy to say.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You know, plug in a quarterback with 7 Super Bowls on a team that really was 3 interceptions away from being in the AFC Championship. Feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I mean.
We'll get right back into your questions for D-Mase. And remember, the best question for D-Mase will win 4 tickets to see the Belmont Bruins men's basketball team take on Murray State on January 17th. Right back into your phones, right back into your questions for D-Mase. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's a new year and a new game. Robbie and Rex Road from 6 to 9.
I don't know whether to be proud of you or to tell you to leave the room. Both would be appropriate.
Chase and Michelle from 9 to 11.
Did you look at what the other teams are doing?
That's a player I want to keep an eye on.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase from 11 to 2.
You're the best running back in the league.
That's one you really need to win.
This is the way we were built. And Stillman and Company with Jared Stillman from 2 to 6.
Really the greatest player in the history of the team?
It's your new weekday lineup now on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
At the law office of Amanda J. Gentry, we are committed to defending your rights. We have a team committed to helping you navigate the court system, whether you've been accused of a crime or you're going through a messy divorce and custody. Call our team to help you navigate this system. We are here to protect your rights, to demand your rights, to enforce your rights. 615-604-6263. 615-604-6263. AmandaJGentry.com.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if a prescription is appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for full details and important safety information. Subscription required.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. At Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
D-Mase.
He played 15 years in the NFL.
Quick throw. Touchdown, Derek Mason.
He had over 12,000 receiving yards.
Midfield, and there he goes. 80 yards for the touchdown.
And now you can ask him anything. Have a question about football or life? Now's your time to ask D-Mase.
We'll welcome you in.
Now on Caroline, Willy, and
D-Mase.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Ask D-Mase is brought to you by Curation CBD. Find their healing products at CurationCompany.com. Curation CBD products curated for life. Use promo code D-Mase, D-M-A-S-E at CurationCompany.com for 25% off Curation CBD products. Let's get right back into your questions for D-Mase. 615-737-1025. If you have a question for D-Mase, Andrew from Dover texts in and says, who's a better kick or punt returner, you or Deion Sanders?
I would say me. But listen, I am.
Own it, D-Mase. It's you.
Listen, I believe that. I believe that I was a damn good punt returner and kickoff returner, but man, oh man, I mean, I'm not. My ego is not that big to say Deion Sanders was just a different type of athlete. I didn't have the speed that Prime had. You know, he was a 4.1 guy. If I tried to run a 4.1, I probably would have popped both Achilles and knees and hamstrings and everything else. But I held my own. I did it for as long as they wanted me to, and I excelled at it. But Prime was just on another level. I think he has more returns than I do. I think I have 3-4 returns, kickoff and punt together. I think he may have 5 or 6 or probably more than that. So, but you know, Prime was Prime. You know.
Pretty good person to be compared to.
Exactly, absolutely. So,
Corey texts in, asks D-Mase, the Pro Bowl has become boring. I personally no longer want to watch it. I also don't like the fan votes. So in your opinion, how do you fix the Pro Bowl and make it more interesting?
You don't have it. You throw it out. That's the only way it's going to become interesting because this sport is so physical. It's not, it's not like basketball where, you're not, you do it in the middle of the season and, the guys are pretty much, they're not playing defense and, whatnot, and they take care of one another. Even on the football field, if you want to take care of one another, you still got to tackle somebody. They still got to be running around. You still can blow out an ACL just by getting tackled. So to me, there's no way they can make this game better. It was really good prior years, 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Why? Because guys looked at it a little bit differently. Guys wanted to go out and play in a Pro Bowl. Guys wanted to play against possibly that guy that they would never have played against. Or guys want to play with somebody they've never played against. I wanted to catch a pass from Peyton Manning. That was my only opportunity to catch a pass from Peyton Manning was in the Pro Bowl.
It is a cool opportunity.
Exactly. So
get to know other players around the league.
Absolutely. So it was much different. Right now, because of the contracts, because of guys understand that this game really means nothing in the big scheme. So why am I going to go out here and put myself at risk of getting injured? That's why, you see guys opting to not go to the Pro Bowl. They get down to like the third or fourth person on the chart.
Like Mac Jones.
Exactly. Now he's a Pro Bowler. Like any other, he would have never been a Pro Bowler. But all of a sudden now, because Aaron Rodgers didn't want to go, Tom Brady doesn't want to go, whether it's Burrow don't want to go, all these guys don't want to go, and then you get back to the sixth quarterback, and it's like, okay, Mac Jones, do you want to go? Mac's like, yeah, of course I want to go.
Yes, I do.
Absolutely, I want to go.
Well, and now it's the Pro Bowl games.
Yeah.
Which, like a skills competition, which I think is so boring. Like, at that point, just make the Pro Bowl an honor.
Exactly.
Call yourself a Pro Bowler. You don't need all the pomp and circumstance.
No.
You don't need the games. I don't need to see guys, go through drills.
Because it's one, you're getting recognized by, not necessarily your peers, because I guess it's people, individuals can use that in negotiation tactics. Hey, I'm a 3-time Pro Bowler, Well, yes, I recognize that you're a Pro Bowler, but I don't care if you played in the game or not. If say, for instance, look, Joe Burrow can make the Pro Bowl, which he probably will, for the next 10 years and never play in any other games. You think his GM that's going to sign him cares of whether he played in the game or not? He's probably happy he didn't play in the game.
Right.
It's
a good sign if you don't play in the game.
All you want is, was I named a Pro Bowler? Yes, that's all you need. You don't need to play in the game.
Yeah, you remember, and you look back on a career, you say, oh, he's a 4-time Pro Bowler.
Exactly. You don't think, oh, did he play in that game or not? No. I don't know. How many Pro Bowls have Tom Brady played in within the last 3 or 4 years?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Nobody cares.
Nobody cares.
But he was a Pro Bowl. That's all we care about.
Nobody cares. But Wes in Hermitage texts in and says, D-Mase, if you were on the current team and you were still a player and somebody asked you what you need and what you want to see this offseason as a wide receiver, what would you say as a player?
As a player, I would answer it very cautiously, and I would answer it honestly, but knowing that, I got to be cautious. I got to be careful on how I say this as a player, because it's, somebody say, well, what do you think you need? And you come out, man, we need another quarterback. Man, we need
this team stinks.
And then everybody's looking like, dude, what's going on? Like, seriously? I think there's a way you can say that without saying that. Just say, listen, we just need to get better as an offense. Whatever it is, at whatever position, we need to get better. You know what position we need to get better at. I don't need to say it. Only thing I need to say is we need to get better as a team. I need to come back more focused, than I was last year. Not to say I wasn't focused last year, but I need to come back even more focused than that. Make sure I do what I need to do in the offseason so I can be ready for a 17-game season, and allow the GM and head coach to make the decisions. We just need help all around. It doesn't matter at what position. We just need to come back a better team. That satisfies, hopefully, the person that is asking the question, but then you don't throw anybody under the bus.
And you also don't make any headlines.
Exactly.
For the wrong
Absolutely.
reasons.
Absolutely.
Another texter texts in and asked, D-Mase, since you want a quarterback for the Titans next year, if you could pick any quarterback in this year's draft or in the league now, who would you build your team around?
It would be Joe Burrow that I would build my team around.
I think a lot of people would probably say that.
Taking out Tom Brady, because he's just past that. I'm not trying to build my team around Tom Brady.
Your team
exactly,
around Tom Brady
absolutely. Or Aaron Rodgers. Those guys you're not building teams around. They're older guys. But Joe Burrow would be the guy hands down. I would take him over, Josh Allen. I would take him over, as good as Patrick Mahomes is. I would take him over Patrick Mahomes. No indictment on Patrick Mahomes. Not saying that Patrick Mahomes is horrible or anything else, but what I see in Joe Burrow and in his attitude, demeanor, everything else, that's the guy that I want to build my team around. And then, say, guys, in this draft, it would be Bryce Young. To me, The knock is his height, and I get it.
He's small.
Yeah, he's small. Drew Brees was small.
Yep.
You know?
Drew Brees is pretty darn good. Drew Brees won a Super Bowl.
Exactly. Drew Brees won a Super Bowl. Drew Brees is considered one of the best quarterbacks ever to get underneath the center.
But I do understand the apprehensions of a franchise that may not would be on the fence about drafting Bryce Young because of his size. Look at Kyler. That's an obvious disadvantage for Kyler.
Well,
Murray.
you just got to build up your offensive line. I think he's a much better passer. I think he's a much better player. I think he's a much better leader than Kyler Murray. And if I had to build my franchise from what I've seen, Bryce Young is just he's a smaller version of Joe Burrow. Nothing seems to rattle this kid. It doesn't matter what you throw at him, how you throw it at him. It doesn't matter. He doesn't get rattled. He looks it straight in the eye and he throws the football. It doesn't matter. That's how Joe Burrow was at LSU, and that's how Joe Burrow is now in the NFL. If you saw that in Joe Burrow in college and he's doing it in the NFL, what do you think, the kid out of Alabama, Bryce Young's going to do? He's displayed the same type of mentality that Joe Burrow did. So he's going to get in the NFL. If you solidify the offensive line, he's going to be good.
And Joe Burrow did it with a coach who got fired a year and a half later.
Absolutely.
Back to your phones. Phone lines from WilsonCountyHonda.com. Tim is up next with a question for D-Mase. What's up, Tim?
Hey, just real quick. Since you played in the NFL for 15 years, D-Mase, can you think of any TV show or movie other than The Man in the Castle, the Tom Brady documentary, that accurately or most closely represents life in football? Like Any Given Sunday or Friday Night Lights, something of that nature?
Yeah, thanks, Tim.
Thank you, Tim. I don't know, because the whole Tom Brady thing was a documentary. It was based on, what he was going. They were filming.
It was made to be real.
Exactly. It was real reality. It was real reality television. Now they edited, to make it better for, for the viewers. But that is what the NFL world is when you walk through those doors. Now, outside, everybody's not living Tom Brady's life. Everybody's not married to a supermodel. Everybody's not, doing all these things that Tom does. But everybody's doing, once he walked through those doors to go into that facility, that's life. That's what goes on. Now, they're not going to show you everything because they can't. But for the most part, that's life in the NFL. What Tom had to go through, whether it be injury, day-to-day things that he did inside that building. That's
sacrifices you have to make.
Sacrifices, not spending a lot of time with your family. That's what NFL life is about. That's what NBA, NFL, MLB, NHL, that's what that life is about. Spending more time at the facility during the season than you are with your family. Going through the hard times at the facility and the games that other people will never see. Only thing you get to see is Saturdays or Sundays or Mondays or Thursday. That's the good stuff. You don't see the grind behind the scenes. You didn't see Steve McNair, in the on the training table more times than not. He spent more time on the training table than he did at practice sometimes. So those are things that you don't see. So I don't think there's a movie out there that accurately depicts what an athlete goes through. Now, that documentary that Tom did, that's more so of what we have to deal with on the field. Again, Tom's life off the field, everybody don't do that. Everybody's not accustomed. Everybody doesn't go through that in their life.
And it's
but
so
on
easy
the
to
field,
glamorize it.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. So, and I'm sure, listen, he and his wife, unfortunately, got a divorce. Didn't nobody see that? Mm-hmm. They weren't going to show you that. They were just going to show you all the good stuff and maybe some, bad things, heartfelt things, but they weren't going to show you the real nitty gritty. What you saw on the football field or inside those walls, what they were able to show you, that's what he had to go through.
That was Ask D-Mase, and the best question for D-Mase will win 4 tickets to go see Belmont Bruins basketball on January 17th. Thanks to everybody for getting in their questions for D-Mase.
Appreciate it. Keep it up. Next week is going to be the same thing.
Coming up next, the Titans are at a crossroads, to use that word again. How do they move forward offensively? And what's the best thing for this team, both in the short-term future and the long-term as well? We'll get into all of that coming up next. And, of course, your phones, 615-777-1025. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
You love the game.
Predators win it in overtime. Touchdown, Tennessee.
We live the game.
My quarterback needs me to step up.
He can make a defense pay.
We are
1, 2, 3, 4. I think it was a good game. You had a couple of big plays.
The Game. Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity Line of Credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity Credit Line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators concluded their road trip in Montreal last night, losing 4-2 against the Canadiens, but Yaroslav Askarov made his NHL debut, making 31 saves, and CEO of the Nashville Predators, Sean Henry, joined Chase and Michelle following the loss.
We're pretty happy about it, and obviously we wish Askarov didn't have to play last night, but he came in and filled in. His lengthening wasn't feeling right, but it was so fun to see him. Every once in a while you get to see the future played out before you.
Now your Nashville Predators will play the next 6 of 7 games at home to conclude January. And your Tennessee Titans continued their general manager search with an interview with Ian Cunningham today and then Quentin Harris on Saturday. The NFL wildcard slate begins on Saturday with Chargers and Jags, along with Seahawks and 49ers. My name is Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 102.5 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Broadcasting on Alexa.
I appreciate that.
And other smart speakers. 102.5 and 106.3.
1, 2, 3. I think it was a good game. You had a couple of big plays.
The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. You can watch us streaming live on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live every single day. Our video streaming is brought to you by Superbook. And, of course, we are live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. The Titans are conducting general manager interviews this weekend. They interviewed Monty Ossenfort, Ryan Cowden, both of their in-house candidates yesterday, and they will continue to interview candidates throughout the weekend. Ian Cunningham from the 49ers from the Bears assistant GM, it will be interviewed today as well. But I want to get into this because the Titans have some options with the team and how they would like to proceed. Fired the offensive coordinator, Todd Downing. Of course, they'll conduct offensive coordinator interviews. But what is the Titans' offensive philosophy going into 2023? Do you move on from Ryan Tannehill? Do you move on from Derrick Henry and you completely overhaul the offense? Or do you run it back, use your resources within the draft, and build up the holes that currently exist. I mean, there are very obvious glaring holes on the offensive line. You need to find a left tackle of the future. There are very obvious holes at the wide receiver position. Traylon Burks, your first-round pick, he's on and off the field this past year. He didn't look like a wide receiver one. Looked promising, but you need more weapons in the passing game. So what do you do? Bob Shoop was on Stillman & Company yesterday and talked about what he would do if he was part of this organization.
You win the division, and you have a home playoff game, and you lose to the Baltimore Ravens. That's the COVID year. You win the division, you're the number 1 seed, you lose a home playoff game to the Bengals. And then you don't make the playoffs. That's a trend. I mean, 1 year, okay, fluky. 2 years, but 3 years now without a playoff victory. That's where we are now as an organization. You know, the questions they're going to have to ask is Ryan Tannehill a winning playoff quarterback?
The answer to that is no.
Right. That is correct. And I think this is a quarterback-driven league, no matter how we want to look at it. And this team isn't structured that way right now either. I will say that. I mean, it's a flawed group on the offensive side of the ball, because if you're going to be Derrick Henry centric, you know, then to me you better have a big-time offensive line, and right now we don't have that. You know, when I look at the teams that are that are winning in the NFL right now, the teams that are getting to the Final Four into the Super Bowl, it's speed on the perimeter and it's elite quarterback play. Speed on the perimeter, elite quarterback play. Two things that need to be improved in this organization.
And to Bob Shoop's point, this team doesn't have the building blocks that history has proven that you need in order to win a Super Bowl, and that's an elite quarterback with elite weapons around him. And Bob Shoop makes a fair point that in 2020, you know, you host a playoff game, you win the division, you get bounced in the wild card round of the playoffs. 2021, you win the division, you're the first seed in the AFC, you get a first round bye, get bounced in the divisional round of the playoffs. This year, you don't even make the playoffs and you don't win the AFC South. Mm-hmm. So you could say, well, this team has been taking, you know, steps back. And Bob Shoop says if you're going to be Derrick Henry-centric, you're going to have to be great around him. You're going to have a great offensive line in order to make holes for him. But I would say in 2020, they did a pretty darn good job of that within the same system. So I understand Bob Shoop's point. Mm-hmm. I do. TD had a different way of thinking.
How would you approach the offensive coordinator search if you're the Titans?
Well, I think you have to approach it from a perspective of how can someone come in and work with what you have right now. So obviously going to be someone that, you know, is capable of putting together some solid running plays and things like that to evolve it around Derrick Henry, but you also want that play action aspect. So those are the things that I would look for. Obviously look for explosiveness out of the offense because that's something that they need. And primarily it's just play design. You know, what have they done in the past? I think that's why it's important to bring in somebody that has already gotten the OC moniker on their resume, you know, so that way you could look at what they did before and look at the play design, because that's important for this team because right now they lack, you know, a lot of playmakers.
So Bob Shoop saying you go in a different direction. TD's saying find an offensive coordinator that can work with what you have and you run it back. And the problem with this team wasn't necessarily, you know, I'm just kind of summarizing what TD said. Mm-hmm. It's with the play calling and the play design rather than the personnel. Who do you think is right?
I think...
And there's no right or wrong.
Yeah, I think both can be right. But I think both can also be combined and get what you need to get or get where you need to get as an organization. You can still go out and get your offensive coordinator based upon the roster that you have now and him saying, how can I work with this roster? But ultimately, what is your offensive coordinator going to want? He's going to want a franchise quarterback because ultimately and eventually he's going to get fired. Why? Because he doesn't have that quarterback. Because Ryan is not getting any younger. He's getting older. So to me, you can still go out and get your coordinator, still keep Ryan Tannehill, but draft your number one quarterback, your quarterback for the future. Because whoever comes in here, Caroline, offensive coordinator-wise, they're going to look at this roster and they're going to say, well, yeah, I can work with it, but, man, I do need a quarterback because in his mind, he knows eventually if you don't have a quarterback in this league, your job only lasts as long as your veteran quarterback is playing well. The minute he stops playing well, or the minute this offense starts to falter, and there's no you can't turn around and say, well, that's our hope right there. That quarterback is our hope. So let's not panic here. Yeah, we may be bad right now, but our hope is right behind me. I can coach him every day. I can see the progress every day. So I know eventually he's going to be in a starting role and we're going to get better as a team. If you don't have that guy, you can't turn around and look and say, that's my future. You're still looking for your future. So to me, you can go out and get your offensive coordinator and still draft your quarterback this year, because no offensive coordinator wants to come into a job not having that quarterback, whether it be a veteran guy that is playing well or having that quarterback that you know is your future. You know, it's the worst thing the Titans can do is to go get an offensive coordinator without any plan for the future at your quarterback position. If you're just looking at Ryan Tannehill and Joshua Dobbs and say, oh, this is our future, well, your future is very bleak. It really is. You're basically saying, okay, I'm good with being a 500 team or not making the playoffs, possibly making the playoffs. But
does it have to be the future?
Yes.
Beyond 2023?
It has. You have to. You have to, as an organization, you have to look at, because again, Ryan isn't 31 or 32. Ryan's older. He's closer to retirement than not. So you got to be looking to the future. You got to be looking as offensive coordinator like, man, do we have our quarterback in the house? The guy that I know can move us forward. Just say, next year, the Titans don't have their quarterback. Something happens to Ryan Tannehill, or Ryan Tannehill is just not playing well. He's playing bad. You can't turn around and hand the ball to your future, because you have no future unless you're saying Joshua Dobbs is your future or Malik Willis is your future.
No, I don't think the quarterback of 2025 is in this organization.
And that's what I'm saying. So
then you could argue, then if Ryan Tannehill plays poorly or gets injured, then this team probably has a pretty solid pick in the 2024 draft and can draft their quarterback of the future.
They will be in the same situation they're in this year. They will be, because this team is not – they're not that bad where they're going to get a top 5 pick. I just don't think they are. I believe that Mike Vrabel can do enough to get this team to an average team. But if you don't have that guy, you can if you don't have that guy you can turn around to and say, this is our future, you're in trouble. In Baltimore, when we had Steve McNair, unfortunately, he chose to retire the year they drafted. And I think part of the reason they drafted Joe Flacco was because in their mind they knew if it's not this year that he's going to retire, it's going to be next year.
So go ahead and
But they had planned exactly. We were not a horrible team, but you know what they said? They said, listen, even if Steve doesn't retire, we want to be able to turn around no matter how the season is going. We want to be able to turn around and say, that's our future. We're all right. We'll be fine. We knew this would probably happen. He'd get injured, or we're not playing as well, or we didn't get to the Super Bowl, but we have our future right behind him. We don't have to panic and say, oh, man, it's offseason. We got to find a way to get our future quarterback. No, we already have him. And what happened? He won him a Super Bowl. That's where I want the Titans to be. I want the Titans to be able to turn around and say, there's our future. Regardless of what Ryan Tannehill is doing. He could be playing great. It doesn't matter. But we can always turn around and say, that's our future right behind us. We're good.
And I am under the impression, and if I'm general manager of the Titans, I would run it back, because my question to you would be, you draft your quarterback of the future. Mm-hmm. Who's protecting your quarterback of the future? Who's your quarterback of the future throwing to? Mm-hmm. And you can go either way. You can go ahead and sell out and get your quarterback of the future and build around him like the Bengals did. Mm-hmm. Drafted Joe Burrow, and then they drafted him weapons, and then they acquired offensive linemen in free agency to protect that quarterback. But let's say the Titans it would take 2022 first, 2023 first, 2024 first, and then seconds and a fourth in 2024 to trade up at bare minimum, to trade up into the first round and to get the first overall pick in the 2023 draft. Mm-hmm. So now you got no picks, and you got no offensive linemen, and you have one wide receiver in his second year who wasn't able to stay on the field in his first year.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to be able to set up for the future totally? Are you going to be able to comfortably set up for the future if you don't have those pieces around that quarterback because you sold out to get him?
I think you still can sell out to get your quarterback. Now, you may say, that's just too rich for my blood, moving up to the number one spot, taking over for the Bears. You say, that's just too rich for my blood. All right. Well, who's picking fourth? Who's picking fifth? Did I evaluate? Okay, say if Bryce Young goes first, I don't know who's going to go first, but say Bryce Young goes first because I love Bryce Young. So it's between now Will Levitt, C.J. Stroud, maybe another quarterback that potentially are Hendon Hooker somewhere in there, but I don't think you draft him that high considering the injury and everything else. You don't want to put that on your plate. So maybe there's three other quarterbacks. Now you got to say, well, we tried to go up to number one, we couldn't. What is it going to take for us to at least get in the top 5 or that number 5 pick? Because everybody in the top 5 doesn't need a quarterback. So it may not take as much to move to 5 or 6 than it would have to move from 1 to 1. It's going to take a lot to move to 1. So if you move to 4 or 5, will it take all of those picks to then move up to that spot? I'm thinking it wouldn't. So if it doesn't, then I still have some leeway to then get the players, slowly build this roster the way I need to. I can go get my left tackle in free agency or my tackle in free agency because there are 2 or 3 good tackles out there that would be a definite upgrade to our left tackle. And then work around that. There's ways of doing this. It's either all or nothing. I think you can get your quarterback and still be competitive and still build your team the way you want to build it.
615-737-1025 is our phone number. I see your phones lining up, and we've been neglecting your phones, so we'll get right into those coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025-1063 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
He'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's former Titans wide receiver Derek Mason, and I want to tell you about my friends at Creation CBD. As a former athlete, I have aches and pains all over, especially my knees, and I just was complaining about my shoulder today. And my shoulder, I've been searching for a solution for years to relieve the pain, and I have found it. It's Creation CBD. I will be taking some more today. Creation means healing, and that says it all. Creation is locally and organically sourced, high-quality CBD products for you and even your pets. My pet, Ginger, is going through the same thing, so I gave it to her, and she's just fine. She's getting up those steps like a youngin'. Creation, whether you are an athlete like me or like the suit, Creation has something for you that even have stuff for your pets. Order now on creationscompany.com and enter promo D-Mase to get 25% off. That's D-Mase for 25% off. Creation, high quality CBD products, Creation for life.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615 888-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Losing your hair? It's Chase McCabe. No matter your age, gender, or type of hair loss, it's never a good feeling when you see too much hair in your brush or you begin to notice bald spots. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 members get hair they love. If you're affected by hair loss and not sure what to do, let Hair Club help customize a solution for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today and get started at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
At Fisher Investments, we do things differently, and other money managers don't understand why.
Because our way works great for us.
But it may not work for your clients. That's why Fisher Investments is a fiduciary, obligated to put clients first. It's the highest standard for a financial advisor.
So, what do you provide? Cookie-cutter portfolios like the rest of us?
No cookie-cutter portfolios here. Fisher Investments tailors portfolios to meet each client's goals and needs.
But you do sell investments that earn you high commissions, right? And make commissions when you make trades for your clients?
No, Fisher Investments doesn't sell any commission investment products, and we never earn commissions on trades.
So what's in it for you?
Fisher Investments fees are structured so we do better when our clients do better. When it comes to helping clients achieve a comfortable retirement, we're clearly different. Visit FisherInvestments.com to find out why investors like you switch to us. Fisher Investments, clearly different money management.
Investments in securities involve the risk of loss.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Yeah, I think they are going to run it back with those guys. And, I mean, if I'm Mike Vrabel, that's what I'm doing for sure, because I don't want that rebuild, because what happens with a rebuild, especially you get a new GM in there and you rebuild, you're likely going to be gone, and somebody else is going to, reap the benefits of the, draft capital that you get from having a losing season. You know what I mean? So I think Tannehill and Henry are going to be back at least one more year.
There you go. That was Teron Davenport on Robbie and Rex Road this morning. He said run it back with Tannehill and Henry. D-Mase says go get your quarterback for the future. We shall see. Into your phones. Phone lines driven by WilsonCountyHonda.com. 615-737-1025 is our phone number if you have a thought. Joey from Gallatin texts in and asks, is Hendon Hooker even on the Titans' radar? With his injury at the end of the year, he may fall lower than top 10. Does he fit the system of the future? First of all, I feel pretty certain that Hendon Hooker would not have gone in the top 10, even if he hadn't torn his ACL. In the middle of the season before he got injured, he was projected as like a fringe late first round pick, maybe early to mid second round pick. And I think that's probably where he is a second-ish round quarterback. And it's not a knock on Hendon Hooker. I think it's just the reality that quarterbacks like CJ Stroud and Bryce Young have more of a pro upside, whereas maybe some people may view Hendon Hooker more as a production or production of the system rather than just talent.
Exactly. I like Hendon Hooker. I think he was perfect for that system that Josh Heupel had.
He had the arm. He has the ability. Talent. He's smart.
So, but you, if you're going to draft a guy like that, one, you got to make sure that his knee is stable enough or will be stable enough that he can be your quarterback, for 10 plus years. You don't want to have to, deal with this knee situation again. Even though, I mean, he can have an injury to his other knee. It just doesn't matter. That's just the way the game goes. But then you got to wonder, well, does our offense fit what he can do, his skill set? Yes, I saw what he did at Tennessee, but that offense was more of a wide-open offense. We don't run a wide-open offense here.
It's not really a pro-style offense.
Can he, and I'm pretty sure he can, but how long will it take him to learn the style of play that we're accustomed to seeing? So not to rule him out any, but not that high. So, if you are, I don't want to get away from, and I want to make this very clear. I'm not saying move on from Ryan Tannehill. I'm saying you got to have it's sort of like this contingency plan. What is our plan for the future? How do we look? Because Ryan Tannehill, he's not going to be our quarterback forever.
Kind of like the 49ers blueprint, where
Absolutely.
they stuck with Jimmy G, but they still drafted Trey Lance.
They still went and got their quarterback, Green Bay. They knew that, Aaron Rodgers could play 2-3 more years, but they wanted to at least have their quarterback in-house, that while Aaron is still on the field, we can groom this guy. We can teach him. He can learn from Aaron. He can see the things that we're trying to do.
And now I think they want to get rid of that guy.
Exactly. They may want to get rid of him now. But that's where you want to be as a franchise because, again, the Titans are not this is not 5 years ago when Ryan Tannehill got here. This is a Ryan Tannehill that is closer to retirement than not. So you can keep Ryan Tannehill, potentially keep Derrick Henry, but still go out and get your quarterback of the future. Because if you don't do it and you run this thing back status quo, you're not going to be in a position unless whatever moves you made during this past offseason just don't work. And if that's the case, then it doesn't matter. All y'all gone, except probably the GM because he's new. So to me, if I'm the head coach, this is what I want. Okay, GM, I want to have the ability to still win, but also put myself in a position to have my future quarterback. Because whether it's getting fired next year or getting fired 3 years from now, if you don't have your quarterback, you're still going to get fired somewhere in here, whether it's next year or the year after that. You got to have your quarterback and at least to give yourself an opportunity to keep your job. And I know everybody's saying, well, if they go through a rebuild, and if they lose, then he's just giving up. Not necessarily. If Amy sees that this team is moving forward, even if they're losing, but if she sees that, okay, they made the right moves. We got our quarterback. They made the right moves. We may not be winning today, but tomorrow we may be winning. So I'm going to keep my head coach because I see what he's able to do with these young players. He's getting them to play. He's getting them to buy in. He's getting them to go out there and give it everything that they have. So I'm going to give them a couple years and see where this go. It ain't an automatic, you get rid of everybody. You bring in your quarterback, you're not winning, they're going to fire you the next year. It doesn't work that way. If you are showing progress with the team, then more than likely you're going to get kept as a head coach, especially somebody like Mike Vrabel. We've seen what he was able to do when he got here along with John Robinson. You don't want to give him the opportunity to try to do that again. Because eventually it's going to come. Whether it's this year, that's what people don't understand. Eventually that day is going to come.
They're going to need to find their quarterback at some point.
Whether it's this year upcoming or is it next? Is it either it's 2023 or it's 2024? So I would rather get my quarterback now and at least have an opportunity, a chance to be able to keep my job rather than running it back with everybody and then end up losing my job because my team is too old and we too beat up eventually to beat the teams that are in our division, let alone the conference.
And it's not like they would, going into 2023, if they did decide to run it back with Tannehill and Henry, that it would be, the exact same roster as is and not bring in new pieces or at least upgrade at certain positions. they would get younger and ideally would get healthier in certain areas where they weren't young or weren't healthy. Offensive line, you add the pass catching core in there as well. So they would upgrade elsewhere. It just wouldn't be at that quarterback position. It would be more so the idea of we'll build up around the quarterback, try and still be as competitive as we can with Tannehill and Henry. Hope that we get back to more of the 2020 kind of offense with a new play caller. And then when the day comes, probably 2024, when the Titans do need a new quarterback, when they do decide to move on from Ryan Tannehill, then at least that new quarterback has pieces around him.
But you're still going to end up getting fired because you're going to have to do something. This young guy, and he's going to come in, or whoever it is, he's going to come in, and he's not – even Joe Burrow wasn't Joe Burrow that first year. He still had his struggles.
Yeah.
There's still with things. He got injured too, but he still had his struggles. It wasn't until really the second half of the second year that things started to really click for him and that team. And then we saw, consequently, we saw what happened, them going to the Super Bowl and see what they are now. So my thing is, why continue to kick this can down the street? It doesn't make sense to me. Like at least I want to get fired. If I get fired, at least I want to say I had my franchise quarterback. We were trying to work with him. We had a young team. So, there was only so much that I can do. This is a young team. We won, but not at a clip that the owner wanted. So I got fired. But I'm able to go get a job somewhere else because they seen what I did with the young quarterback in that young team. Maybe we didn't, win a playoff game. Maybe we just got to the playoffs. Maybe we just missed the playoffs. But they saw what I did with that young team and that young quarterback. So I'm gonna get a job somewhere else. So why keep pushing?
But
quit kicking the can down the road. We got to get our quarterback.
If the Titans did bring in a quarterback in 2024 with pieces that they picked up hypothetically, like let's say a left tackle and a wide receiver in the draft this year, plus other things, of course. So they have pieces around the quarterback. They pick up the quarterback in 2024, however it might be, and they're not very good because the quarterback is a rookie and is very green and needs to adjust to the NFL. We saw it. Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and then in year 2 takes a step forward. Well, I think that Amy Adams-Strunk would be willing to give the grace to Mike Vrabel and this coaching staff to say, hey, this was a rookie quarterback, but we're excited about what we can see in the future. I think once you get to 2, 3, multiple years of a new quarterback, of a quarterback that you drafted to be your future, and it's still not coming to fruition, that's when people lose their jobs.
And you're absolutely right. She gave him the time, along with John, to build this roster when they got here.
Yeah.
And she understood what was going on. She understood that this roster wasn't as good, so they had to build it up. She gave him the grace and the leeway to do it. Now, she ended up firing John Robinson, but she kept her head coach. Why do we think she won't do that again if she knows she has a quarterback? And if Mike Vrabel is teaching these young men and they see the progress in them, well, why would you then fire your coach if you are seeing the progress even with the young quarterback? Right. Why then would you fire your coach? Everybody just assume that, or if you go get a new quarterback, we're rebuilding and you're going to end up getting fired a year later. No, that's not the case all the time.
Which is why I think it's important to continue to go back to why Amy Adams-Strunk did decide to fire John Robinson. Because if it was a move that she just completely did on her own, then nobody's job is safe. Then Mike Vrabel's job isn't safe. Right back into your phones coming up next. Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 1025, 1063 The Game. And I see one texter texting into the text line. This person probably isn't the only one with this thought, but I kind of want to squash it right where it is. We'll get into that coming up next. 1025, 1063 The Game.
When you want all the...
Going in and the score. Blast the score. He risks one, they score.
And don't forget the...
Oh, what a stop. Sliding across to make the save. Backhander, nice stop.
When all you want is... Smashville. We have you covered. Hear every Predators game right here. We are your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Get in on the conversation at 615-737-1025. The Game text line is driven by Wilson County Hyundai. Online at wilsoncountyhyundai.com.
Hey, it's Jared from my official sportsbook app, the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Wild Card Weekend is here, and the easiest way to get into the playoffs is with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers join today to get started with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. Just sign up with the promo code JGM. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. And when you combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. Boy, I love Tom Brady this weekend, especially after what we saw from the Cowboys on Sunday. And I think Brady may get it done. All in an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code JGM. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets. It expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call Tennessee Redline 1-800-889-9789.
Hello, Tennessee Power Hour listeners. My name is Hunter Briley, and I am with Regal Realty Group.
And my name is Richard Van Clive. I'm also with Regal Realty Group.
And we are great friends that treat our clients like great friends.
Because that's how we want to be treated.
We are also born and raised here in Middle Tennessee and support our local team.
And with an economy that's affecting everything except the real estate market, it's important to do business with friends that can tell you what's what.
From contract to closing, everything in between, we have you covered. Go to regalrg.com to get started. And happy football season.
I studied Spanish in college and never got fluent. But then I tried Babbel.
Want the most effective way to learn another language? In just 15 minutes a day, Babbel's bite-sized lessons will have you learning another language in as little as 3 weeks.
Babbel gets you speaking quickly about things you actually talk about in the real world.
University studies have shown that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a semester of college Spanish. If you want to learn a new language, there's no better way than Babbel. Go to Babbel.com to try Babbel for free. That's Babbel.com.
We're Cromwell Media, and if you work here, you're family, and that means a lot. Dagwood has been our morning host on 102.9 The Buzz for 24 years. For Christy Maffett on our sales team, that means 23 years of service. Haley St. John, also an on-air talent on 102.9 The Buzz, is celebrating 10 years. Shannon Sanders, the architect behind 102.1 The Ville, joined our team 5 years ago. Charlotte Simmons, who works on our corporate team, has been with us for 3 years. Want to be part of our amazing Cromwell family? Contact us at together@cromwellmedia.com.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from three.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
This is Greg McElroy, and you're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3, The Game, right back into your phones, talking about the Titans, where they go from here, the general manager search. We'll get your thoughts on all of that. Jim is up next on the quarterback draft. What's up, Jim?
Hey, listen, great show. D-Mase, listen, man, I hear what you're saying about the quarterback situation, and philosophically probably agree, but here's the big gotcha in my mind. I mean, the success rate of quarterbacks drafted in the top, say, 10, 12 picks over the last 20 years, it's about 1 out of 3. And if you look even at the Titans, I mean, the Vince Young class, there was, Matt Leinart didn't make it. Jay Cutler was the only one out of that group. If you look back when we drafted Lockard, the other quarterbacks, Gabbert, Ponder, didn't make it. Jameis Winston, Marcus. I mean, none of those guys have made it as the franchise. I think it's one of those things where if you're ultra confident and there's that Peyton Manning versus the Ryan Leaf type thing that you can go, but I'm just saying it's not, I mean, if you feel like there is a person in this class that you want to roll the dice and your job on, I hear you, but I think there are a lot of classes that it turns out there's not really a franchise quarterback, or maybe there's 1 out of the 3. That's, I think, what, if you look back at the metrics, that's about what it looks like as how successful they usually are.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Jim.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate it. I mean, yes, that, you know, finding a quarterback in this league, a true franchise quarterback, yes, it's sometimes, majority of times, it's a roll of the dice. You know, a lot of things have to, you know, work out perfectly in your favor to find that quarterback for the next 15 years. Because in every draft, there's not a Peyton Manning. In every draft, there's not a John Elway.
Sometimes the first pick in the draft is Baker Mayfield.
Exactly.
Sometimes it's Joe Burrow. Sometimes it's just luck.
Exactly. It's just it's a roll of the dice. But I don't think you can, sort of allow that to dictate how you proceed with your team. If you believe in your GM, if you believe in your scouting department, you feel they would do the best job necessary to find that quarterback. All these players, you don't know what you're getting. You don't, You can draft a guy in the first round. He doesn't have to be a quarterback, and it doesn't work out.
Caleb Farley.
Absolutely. You can draft a guy in the 5th or 6th round or the 4th round. Chigakonkwo, that works out. A lot of it is, it's a roll of the dice. Sometimes, first rounders, there is a higher probability at times, based upon what they did in college and how they dominated in college, that they will then get in the pros and do some of the same things. That happens, and it's out there. But you can't be scared of the numbers. Can't be scared that much that you shy away from trying to move up in the draft to potentially get who you believe is your future franchise quarterback. If that was the case, then teams would be trading out of that first pick. Like, I don't want this first pick because, number says 1 out of 3 or 1 out of 4, whatever it is, turns out to be, good. The rest of them turns out to be bad or okay. If that is indeed the case, then, still go up, try to get your quarterback, at least try. If it doesn't work out that way, meaning you couldn't move up far enough to get who you wanted, then at least you're in a position now where you can get the best left tackle or the best guard or the best receiver or the best secondary guy. You're in a position to get that guy now. You weren't able. It was sort of like the shoot for the stars and reach the moon, or shoot for the moon and reach the stars, and
something like
that. I think it's shoot for the moon and reach the stars. I don't know,
if
whichever
you don't
one
get
is
what
further.
you originally
Exactly.
wanted, you'll get something
if you're
else
aiming for
good.
something high, you may not get that, but you may get close to it. So I wouldn't allow that to scare me away from trying to get my quarterback. But I truly believe in this class. I think Bryce Young is the guy, and I think the other two, Will Levis and Stroud, are good players that can potentially be franchise quarterback. Because even if you go out and get your franchise quarterback and he turns out to be that guy, you still got to surround him with talent. If you don't surround, what you call it should be the perfect example. Trevor Lawrence should be the perfect example for everybody. Franchise quarterback, elite quarterback. What happens his first year it was a disaster. And a lot of it wasn't because of him. It was because of what they did around him and the head coach.
And the head coach was
and then the minute they changed the head coach and got some people in place, what does he look like? He looks like that guy. He is him, as the young kids say. He is him. The Titans could be the same way. As long as you surround your franchise quarterback with players, then he's going to be who you thought he was, Denny Green.
And to the caller's point, what if the franchise quarterback isn't in this draft? You don't draft him. Then you don't go to the great lengths to go get them. To your point, D-Mase, you have to have the trust in your GM and your scouting department. If you think he really is that guy, then you get him. If you don't, then you don't, and you find something else. Back into your phones. Wes is up next on Tannehill. What's up, Wes?
Yeah, I got a question. I hear a lot of talk about whether we should keep Tannehill or whether you should try to draft a quarterback and build from that. I don't understand why you can't do both. Is there not a quarterback in the draft right now that's relatively close to the same kind of play as Tannehill that you can pick up and kind of mold into what you want for the future? I don't understand.
Yeah, thanks for your call,
Thank
Wes.
you, Wes.
I think D-Mase is making that exact same point earlier.
Yeah, like you can keep Ryan Tannehill. I'm not advocating again. I would love to have Ryan Tannehill back for another year, but I would love to go get my future quarterback as well.
Yeah.
We can do both at the same time.
That's exactly what the 49ers did. They traded 3 first-round picks to move up in the first round of the draft. They drafted Trey Lance. They held on to Jimmy Garoppolo. They just knew that Jimmy Garoppolo was not going to be their answer at the quarterback position for the future. So even though Trey Lance wasn't their starting quarterback that year, they could bring him in, develop him, and then this year was hopefully going to be the year. Then, of course, he got injured.
Now, neither one of them are the quarterbacks, and it's Purdy.
Now it's Brock Purdy o'clock. I do want to get to this, though, because we had a text in the text line, and I do think that there might be people who feel this way, and I understand that this is a very common thought process for fans in sports. This texter texts in and says, I am rooting for the Jags hard this weekend. If they make a run in the playoffs, I'll feel so much better about the Titans getting swept by them and missing the playoffs. I think this is a really common thought process of, oh, my team got beat by a really good team, but that team went on to win a championship. So that's okay. It justifies losing. I mean, Auburn fans, LSU fans, Ole Miss fans talk about it every year. Well, we got beat by Alabama, but Alabama just went on to win the national championship. That's not the case here. I think that is such a lame excuse for a team that completely just pooped away their opportunity at the playoffs. It's not about the Jags. The Jags winning the division and sweeping the Titans, I don't think it had anything to do with the Jags, or very little to do with the Jags, and I think it had so much to do with the Tennessee Titans. I think it had everything to do with the fact that they had a pretty awful play caller, that they fired their general manager in the middle of the season, and then they played the Jags the following weekend and looked so distracted and looked so unenthusiastic. I think it had everything to do with the injuries. I think that it had so much to do with the Titans having luck on the wrong side rather than the Jags just being some, crazy talented team that's, ready to take on an AFC championship. Will they? I don't know. I doubt it. I'm not putting my money on it. But even if they do, I don't think that should justify or excuse this total crashing and burning of a season that the Titans had.
Yeah. I mean, if because we get, we've gotten these calls before, we've gotten these texts before. Well, if such and such make it, at least, that was the team that we lost to. No, I don't want to hear that. I'm not rooting for Jacksonville because it makes me feel better that we lost to them. No, I'm not doing that.
You can feel however you want, but that's so not justified.
But players are not feeling that way. And, you can feel how you want it. If that makes you feel better, then great. But, I mean, living in that world is not cool. It's not good. I mean, I would have rather beaten Jacksonville and been in the playoffs than lose to them and then hope that they win. That's like me, that's like if Michigan beat Michigan State as they did and then rooting for them and say, oh, I hope they win. No, I don't want them to win.
I want bad things for
Exactly.
you.
I want them to lose, too.
As Jared would say, that's a loser talk. Coming up next, we've got a full slate of the wild card weekend. We'll pick those games coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, D-Mase. And also, be caller 3 now, and you will win a pair of tickets to a really great show. And you're going to want to know exactly what the show is because it's a really great show. If you are caller 3 now, you'll win a pair of tickets to see Blackberry Smoke at the Ryman Auditorium on Thursday, February 9th, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:45. Come on. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:45 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, what's up? It's Chase McCabe for Superbook Sports, and this is your New Year's resolution. Win money from Superbook Sports. Superbook has over 3 decades of sports wagering experience in Las Vegas, so you'll get the best odds anywhere as we head into the football playoffs. Plus, you can check out their special odds boosts and promotions at Superbook.com. This is what I like this weekend. I really like the Giants +3 against Minnesota. I think the G-Men can get it done. That is my play this week. Plus, you can check out their special odds boosts and promotions, as I said. Make 2023 the year when you win money from Vegas. Download the Superbook Sports app now and place your bets. Visit Superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789. Hey, it's Chase McCabe, and in the past, hair loss was inevitable. But now, you have a choice for thicker, fuller hair. Trust the experts with 45 years of experience at Hair Club. They've helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair again. No matter your age, stage of hair loss, or budget, Hair Club can customize a solution for you. And for a limited time, you can get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
What's for dinner? Burgers?
After last week, no thanks.
Avoiding foods due to fear of diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose, oily stools? It may not be just stomach issues. It could be EPI, or exocrine pancreatic insufficiency. EPI can cause uncomfortable symptoms because it's a condition where the pancreas doesn't release enough digestive enzymes to break down food. But EPI can be managed. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and talk to your doctor about your symptoms. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. We are heading into Wild Card Weekend. So let's pick the games of the weekend.
All right. Well, I did this morning, so now I get to do it twice.
Let's run it back.
Go. And Derek, let's start off with you, okay? Because this is a really familiar team for you. In the AFC, the Ravens at the Bengals, Baltimore, they are 9.5-point dogs. Who you got?
Oh, wow. No Lamar Jackson. Is Huntley playing? Is he their quarterback?
Yep.
Oh, man, they made it difficult for Cincinnati. The last outing, even without Lamar Jackson and some other players they didn't have. I don't know how the injury situation up beside Lamar Jackson is moving forward. But, man, oh, man, as much as I want to pick Baltimore, Cincinnati is at home. I'm going with Cincinnati, but I don't think I couldn't take the point. Well, I'm going with Cincinnati, but I'll take the point. I think they win, but they don't win by 9. Is that the point line?
9.5.
9.5. I think they win, but not by 9.5.
Yeah, 9.5 is a huge spread. And in the NFL, anything beyond like 6.5, 7, 7.5 makes me really nervous. But this is Joe freaking Burrow in the playoffs at home against a Tyler Huntley-led team. And look, the Ravens aren't a bad team, but this is Joe freaking Burrow. 9.5 is a lot. I'm going to lay the 9.5. I think the Bengals are able to roll in this game, and they will be all speed ahead going into the divisional round of the playoffs. Give me the Bengals minus 9.5.
Right. And I got Big Joe too, but his wide receivers have to step it up this week. So let's stick in the AFC. We got Chargers at the Jags. We've been waiting for this one after the big old Titans loss. Just pooped on our season, obviously. But Jacksonville, they're 2.5-point dogs. Who do you guys got?
Give me Jacksonville. I think they're at home. I think they're rolling on a high. It sort of reminds me of last year's Bengals team. Not to say that they're going to make it to the Super Bowl, but I think the Bengals went into the playoffs with some confidence. I think Jacksonville's on that same sort of level. They're going to the playoffs with some confidence. I think it takes them past the first round. Beyond that, I don't know. So I'm picking Jacksonville.
This is tough because if you would have asked me this yesterday, I would have said Chargers minus 2.5 easily. Mike Williams is out for the next 2 to 3 weeks. He has a back fracture. And he is a big part of that offense. But I'm still going to take the Chargers minus 2.5. I know that Jacksonville has been on this heater in the late end half of the season. I know that everyone thinks that Trevor Lawrence is going to be, the next gift to football. I'm just not quite there yet. This is a fine Jags team. I don't think this is a great Jags team. Give me the Chargers to cover the 2.5. I think it'll be like a field goal to a touchdown difference.
I think Mike's mom probably stepped on a crack to break his back. So that ain't gonna go over so well.
That's a good one, Nick.
But let's head over to Buffalo. I know that the Dolphins have a tough matchup with the Grand Ole Skylar Thompson leading the way for them. Buffalo is 13-point favorites. I think it's pretty obvious, but who do you guys got?
I'm taking Buffalo, but not the point. And the reason why, to me, Josh Allen isn't in the class of Mahomes and Brady at this point. And I know Brady has slipped, but just say Mahomes. The reason why is because of the mistakes he makes. Like he makes these throws after like 6 or 7 years in the league. You thinking like, why are you making that throw at that time? And it's an interception. He's done that more times than not. I'm picking him to win, but I'm not picking the point.
Again, I go back to I don't like a big spread like that in the NFL. I mean, the NFL is constructed for every single game to be close, especially in the playoffs. But I look at a Miami team with no Tua, and this is a Buffalo team that has been so close, or at least has looked like a Super Bowl caliber team for the past 3 years. And every single year, they get knocked in either the divisional round of the playoffs. They get knocked in the AFC Championship against Kansas City last year. I think this Bills team is so hungry to finally realize their potential. They've been Super Bowl favorites all season long. I think Buffalo's going to be able to win big because of what they're playing for. And also because I just don't think Miami without Tua is going to be that great. But also, Skylar Huntley has I'm sorry.
Skylar.
Not Tyler Huntley. He has good pass catchers at least.
But who? Really? Like who? Like that's what I said this morning. Who is that guy? But anyway, so now we have Christian McCaffrey and Brock Purdy going up against Kenneth Walker III and Geno Smith. Mm-hmm. Seattle is 9.5-point dogs. I think it's closer than that, but what do you guys think?
Well, I'm not even going on the offensive side of the ball. That 49ers defense is just lights out, man. They're good. And they got, they can affect you on every level. And I just think that's going to be too much for Seattle. Yes, Geno has been playing well. Yes, Kenneth Walker III, Michigan State guy, I'm rooting for him hard.
Go green.
Go white. But I just think San Francisco's defense will be too much for Seattle. So I'm going with San Fran.
Yeah, that's a big spread. And, every time I bet against Brock Purdy, every time I see, what's at hand, and I'm like, no way, Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, 7th-round pick, 3rd-string quarterback. Like, no, he's not going to be able to overcome this. But I think it's less about Brock Purdy, and to your point, D-Mase, about every single other piece around him. That 49ers team is so stacked on both sides of the ball. This is tough. I'll take Seattle to cover. I think it's the difference of like a touchdown. As much as I'm just bragging on this 49ers team, I think Geno Smith has been able to do pretty impressive things in Seattle. I still think 49ers win. I think it's the difference of a touchdown, so I'll take them to cover.
Could you imagine Mr. Irrelevant being Super Bowl MVP this year? That is crazy to me.
Truly worst to first. Take that, Tom Brady.
Listen, it would be a great story. Let's just put it that way.
Yes, a great story, Derek.
Exactly.
But anyway, so now we roll over to the G-Men, as Derek has been putting it all season, and they're going up against the Vikings, and the Giants are 3-point dogs. Who do you guys got?
Oh, boy. I'm a Kirk Cousins fan. I know many are saying, well, he's going to be the demise of the Vikings. And maybe so, but not this week. Not this week. As much as I like the G-Men, I'm going with Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. I think Justin Jefferson is going to have a field day this weekend. So I'm going with Kirk Cousins.
I'm going to take the Vikings, too. Because this game was interesting. They played it just a few weeks ago, and the game was really interesting. It came down to a field goal. But to your point, I mean, the Vikings just have way too much talent on that side of the ball. I mean, when you give me Justin Jefferson, give me Adam Thielen over the Giants. I think the Giants are really carried and propelled by what they did in the beginning half of the season and have kind of flattened out and kind of averaged the mean there in the second half of the season.
Right. All right, last pick here. I know where Derek and I stand on this because we've been heckling Chase all year. But look, we got Cowboys at Bucks. Tom Brady's never lost to the Cowboys. He is currently 6-0, I believe. And Dallas is only a 12.5-point favorite. Who do you guys got down there in Tampa?
Wow. As much as I want to pick Tom Brady because he's just Tom Brady, and you just never know. Mike Evans can have another 200-yard game, and that's the difference between them winning the game and not winning the game. But the Cowboys can do cowboy things as they do all the time. So I'm going with. How about those Cowboys? Let's go with them.
I will never bet against Tom Brady. I'm too smart to do that. I'm taking the Bucks. That's going to do it for us today. Everyone have a great weekend. Stillman & Company's up next. We'll be back Monday at 11 a.m.
Peace.
Electronic